The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm golden hue over the quaint little town, its light dancing through the stained glass windows of St. Mary's Chapel. The intricate designs glimmered as if they were alive, casting a kaleidoscope of colors onto the polished wooden pews and the soft white carpet lining the aisle. A buzz of excitement filled the air as friends and family gathered, their voices a soft murmur of joy and anticipation, each one woven together to create a symphony of happy chatter. Today was supposed to be a day of love, a celebration of union, and the air was thick with expectation. At the front of the chapel, Jack stood tall, adjusting his crisp black tuxedo. He ran a hand nervously through his hair, glancing down at his 8-year-old son, Leo, who was fidgeting at his side. Leo was dressed in a miniature version of his father's suit, complete with a bow tie that seemed a touch too large for his small frame. Clutched tightly in Leo's hands was a delicate embroidered pillow, and atop it rested 2 gleaming rings, symbols of the promise that was about to be made. Despite the excitement surrounding him, Leo's brow furrowed with an intensity that belied his young age. His big brown eyes darted around the chapel, taking in the scene, and with each glance, his heart sank deeper. It wasn't that he didn't want his father to be happy. He did. Jack deserved love and companionship, especially after the loss they had both suffered 2 years prior. But something felt off, a deep-seated anxiety that twisted in his stomach like a coiled serpent. Jack beamed with joy, his smile infectious as he greeted guests and exchanged warm embraces. To everyone else, he was the epitome of happiness, a man on the brink of a new beginning. But Leo could see the flickers of change in his father's eyes, shadows that seemed to darken whenever Fiona entered the room. He had watched the transformation closely, and it filled him with an unsettling sense of foreboding. "Just breathe, Leo," Jack said, kneeling down beside his son, oblivious to the storm brewing inside the boy. "You're going to be the best ring-bearer. Everyone is counting on you." His voice was gentle, laced with warmth. Yet Leo felt a pressure mounting on his small chest, as if the very air around him thickened. As the music from the organ filled the chapel, guests began to take their seats, the sound echoing beautifully in the space. Leo's mind drifted back to the first time he had met Fiona. It had been a crisp autumn day, the leaves painted in hues of red and gold, fluttering like butterflies as they walked home from school. Jack had been unusually excited that day, his smile stretching wide as he announced that he had someone special to introduce to Leo. "Her name is Fiona," Jack had said, his voice filled with pride as they approached the porch where she was waiting. Leo had been both curious and apprehensive. Could anyone really replace his mother? His heart had raced as they approached, only to be met with a warm, welcoming smile from Fiona. But the warmth quickly faded when Jack wasn't around. "Hi, Leo," she had said cheerfully, bending down to his level. But Leo noticed how her smile dimmed slightly when Jack was busy. Her laughter, which was so rich and bright in his father's presence, often transformed into a distant chuckle when it was just the two of them. When Leo had shyly asked her about her interests, hoping to find common ground, she had waved him off, eyes glued to her phone. "Not now, Leo. I'm a bit busy," she had replied, her voice sharp and dismissive. The boy had shrunk back, feeling as if he were intruding on a world he didn't belong to. The months that followed only served to amplify his unease. The woman who was supposed to become his stepmother seemed to bring an air of coldness into their home. Jack, enchanted by her charm, remained blissfully unaware of the subtle shifts in their lives. Leo had tried to express his feelings, to voice his concerns, but his father's reassurances always seemed to silence him. "Give her a chance, buddy," Jack had said one evening, ruffling Leo's hair affectionately. "She's just trying to get to know us." But Leo could sense something darker lurking beneath Fiona's polished exterior, something that stirred like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. As the wedding day approached, the ominous whispers he had overheard, conversations hidden behind closed doors, moments of raised voices, fueled his dread. He had heard snippets of troubling talk, words that hung in the air like an unshakable fog. Now, standing at the altar, Leo's heart raced. Each passing second felt like an eternity as he clutched the pillow tighter, beads of sweat forming on his brow. The chapel doors, still closed, felt like a barrier between his father's future and the shadows that loomed over it. Then, the doors swung open, and in walked Fiona, a vision in white lace, her golden hair cascading around her shoulders like a halo. She floated down the aisle, eyes sparkling with joy, completely unaware of the turmoil she stirred in the heart of the young boy watching her. Jack's face lit up with pure adoration as he took her hand at the altar, his eyes shining with a happiness that made Leo's heart ache. At that moment, Leo made a silent vow. Somehow, he had to protect his father. As the ceremony began and the officiant's voice echoed through the chapel, Leo felt an overwhelming sense of urgency. He couldn't let this day be just another beautiful facade. He had to find a way to reveal the truth. The truth that had been clawing at him for months, a truth that threatened to shatter their world. With a surge of determination, Leo took a deep breath and steeled himself. The storm inside him was about to break free, and he knew he had to act before it was too late. This wedding, this celebration of love, needed to be halted, not for himself, but for the man who stood beside him, blissfully unaware of the danger that lay ahead. As the ceremony unfolded, Leo's heart pounded in his chest like a drum echoing in a cavern. He stood at the front of the chapel, his small body rigid as he clutched the delicate pillow, feeling the weight of the rings pressing against the fabric. The officiant's voice flowed like a gentle stream, filled with words of love and unity, but to Leo, it sounded more like a distant thunderstorm, ominous and foreboding. Fiona's radiant smile as she looked at Jack sent a chill down Leo's spine. She was enchanting, that was undeniable. The way she carried herself, the way her laughter rang out, it was all so captivating. Yet the glimmer in her eyes held something darker, a flicker of ambition that felt misplaced in the sacred space of the chapel. Leo couldn't shake the feeling that she was performing a role, one that did not include him. "Leo?" Jack's voice broke through his racing thoughts, drawing him back to the moment. "You ready, buddy?" His father's smile was warm and encouraging, but it did little to soothe the storm brewing inside him. "Yes, Dad," Leo replied, forcing a smile that felt more like a grimace. He felt trapped, caught between the joyous scene unfolding before him and the anxious shadows lurking at the edges of his mind. As the officiant began the vows, Leo's gaze darted around the chapel, landing on familiar faces, friends and family members, all dressed in their finest, their eyes glistening with joy. But as Leo's eyes wandered, he caught a glimpse of Fiona's best friend, Sarah, sitting at the front row. Their eyes met for a fleeting moment, and Leo saw something in her gaze that resonated deeply with him, a flicker of concern. He was not alone in his doubts. Fiona's voice broke through the ceremony as she recited her vows, her words laced with emotion that Leo found hard to trust. "I promise to love you fiercely, to be your partner and your greatest supporter," she declared, her tone sweet yet rehearsed, as if she had practiced these lines in front of a mirror 100 times. Jack's face radiated with love, but Leo couldn't shake the feeling that the love was one-sided, a performance meant to captivate rather than connect. And then it was Jack's turn. He spoke with a sincerity that stirred something deep within Leo. "Fiona, you are my light. You bring joy back into my life after so much darkness, and I promise to stand by you, through thick and thin." Leo's heart clenched at the depth of his father's words, the love pouring from him like a waterfall, unrestrained and pure. But something inside Leo twisted painfully. His father didn't see what he saw. He didn't notice the subtle changes in Fiona when she thought no one was looking. The dismissive remarks, the sharp edge to her laughter when Leo stumbled over his words, the way she always seemed to place her needs above their small family. And now she was slipping into a role that Leo was desperate to protect them from. As the officiant instructed the couple to exchange rings, Leo felt his resolve harden. It was now or never. He stepped forward, the small pillow shaking slightly in his hands as he moved. The chapel fell silent, a hush descending like a blanket as everyone turned to him. He felt every pair of eyes on him, including Jack's, filled with confusion and surprise. "Dad, wait," Leo called out, his voice shaking but loud enough to pierce the stillness. Jack turned, surprise washing over his features as Fiona's eyes narrowed, her smile faltering. "Leo?" Jack asked, concern flooding his voice. "What's wrong?" "Don't put the ring on her finger," Leo shouted, the words bursting forth from a place of urgency. "Please, just don't." A murmur rippled through the chapel, a mix of shock and confusion. Leo's heart raced as he looked into his father's eyes, searching for understanding. I know this is supposed to be a happy day, but I just can't let you do this. I think she's not what you think she is. Fiona's expression shifted from shock to something colder, her composure cracking as she glared at Leo. How dare you interrupt this moment, she hissed, her voice low and dangerous. You're just a child. You don't understand. Jack stepped toward Leo, concern etched on his face. Leo, this is not the time. But it is the time, Leo pleaded, tears welling in his eyes. You deserve to know the truth. I've seen her when she doesn't think we're watching. She's not kind to you, and she's not kind to me. I'm scared, Dad. The air in the chapel felt electric, charged with tension as everyone waited for Jack's response. For a moment, it felt as if time had stopped, Leo's heart pounding in his ears as he held his breath, praying his father would see the fear in his eyes. Jack's gaze flickered between Leo and Fiona, uncertainty clouding his features. What do you mean, Leo? He asked softly, kneeling to be at eye level with his son. She doesn't care about us, Leo choked out, his voice trembling. She just wants you to marry her. She doesn't really love you, Dad. I promise. Fiona scoffed, her facade cracking further. Leo, sweetie, you're just being dramatic. You don't understand adult relationships. You're just jealous. But Leo shook his head, more resolute than ever. No, I'm trying to protect you. You don't see how she really is. The tension in the room was palpable as whispers spread among the guests. Jack's eyes softened, and he reached out, resting a hand on Leo's shoulder. Buddy, I know this is hard for you, but you have to trust me. I love Fiona. She makes me happy. Then why does she make me feel so sad? Leo cried, feeling the weight of his words. Why does it feel like I'm losing you? Jack's expression shifted, understanding dawning upon him. Leo, he hesitated, searching for the right words. Fiona's composure shattered as she threw her hands up in exasperation. This is ridiculous. I didn't come here to be insulted by a child. But Jack didn't take his eyes off Leo. Leo, why don't you tell me what you've seen? What makes you feel this way? With that, Leo felt a flood of relief mixed with fear. He stepped back, allowing the words to tumble out of him, each incident, each interaction he had witnessed. He spoke of the coldness in Fiona's laughter, the way she always seemed to prioritize her own desires over their little family, and how he had overheard her speaking dismissively about him when she thought he wasn't listening. As the words spilled out, Jack's expression shifted from confusion to concern, and for the first time, Leo saw a flicker of doubt in his father's eyes. He could sense the shift, the veil of bliss that had clouded Jack's judgment starting to lift. Leo, Jack said softly, his voice trembling, I had no idea. I thought she was just trying to adjust. I thought she would grow to love you. Fiona's composure began to crumble completely. You can't believe this kid. He's just trying to ruin everything, she snapped, her voice rising. But Jack didn't flinch. No, Fiona. This is my son. I have to listen to him. He turned to Leo, kneeling again, his eyes full of concern. What do you want me to do? I just want us to be happy, Leo said, his voice small but filled with strength. I want you to be happy, Dad. Not just today, but every day. As Jack pondered his son's plea, Leo felt hope flickering in his chest like a candle in the darkness. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could save them from this uncertain future. Just then, the chapel doors swung open, revealing the bright sunlight outside, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. Jack stood up, his eyes never leaving Leo's, as he took a deep breath. I think we need to take a moment. Fiona's expression twisted into a mask of fury, but Jack stepped forward, determination in his stance. This wedding can wait. I need to talk to my son. And with that, they walked out of the chapel together, Leo's heart pounding in rhythm with the footsteps of his father, a silent prayer on his lips that together they would find the light they were searching for. The sunlight poured into the chapel as Leo and Jack stepped outside, the warmth enveloping them like a comforting embrace. The vibrant colors of the garden surrounding the church felt almost surreal, a stark contrast to the heavy tension that had filled the chapel just moments before. Leo glanced up at his father, who looked deep in thought, his brow furrowed with concern. Dad, Leo started, his voice hesitant. Do you believe me? Jack turned to him, his eyes filled with a mixture of love and uncertainty. Leo, I want to believe you, but this is so sudden. I need to understand more. I didn't realize how serious this was for you. Leo felt a swell of anxiety rise within him. I've seen her, Dad. I see how she is when she's not pretending to be nice. She talks about you like you're a prize to win, not a partner. I just don't want you to get hurt. Jack knelt beside Leo, their eyes level, and the weight of the moment hung heavily in the air. I know you're scared, buddy. It's okay to feel that way. He placed a comforting hand on Leo's shoulder. But I need you to tell me everything you've witnessed. Every detail. Leo took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts as memories flooded back to him. Moments he had brushed off at first, now casting a new shadow over Fiona's character. Remember the time we went to the carnival? He began, his voice steadier now. She kept complaining about how the rides were too childish. She wanted to go to the adult sections, and when you suggested we ride the Ferris wheel together, she rolled her eyes and said it was boring. Jack nodded, his expression darkening. I thought she was just having a rough day. She wasn't just having a bad day, Dad, Leo insisted. It's how she talks about you when she thinks I can't hear. Once, she said you were lucky to have her, like you were the one who needed her. Not the other way around. It felt wrong, like she was trying to trap you into needing her. Jack's face paled slightly, realization dawning upon him. I wish I had known sooner. I thought I was doing what was best for both of you. Feeling emboldened, Leo pressed on. And it's not just that. Sometimes she seems jealous of us, like when we watch movies together or play games. It's like she's mad that we have our own bond. Jack's jaw tightened, and Leo could see the hurt flickering behind his father's eyes. I should have paid more attention to how you felt. I didn't want to believe you, because I was so happy. I thought Fiona was the answer to my loneliness. Leo felt a pang of guilt, but he knew this was necessary. You don't have to be lonely anymore, Dad. I'm here for you. We can be happy together, just like before. Just give us a chance. Jack took a deep breath, his shoulders relaxing slightly. You're right. I've been so focused on finding love that I didn't realize I was putting my relationship with you at risk. I thought Fiona would complete our family, but I see now that I should have been looking for someone who would embrace us both. Exactly, Leo said, his heart swelling with hope. You deserve to be happy, Dad, but so do I. We need someone who loves both of us, not just a version of you. As they stood in the sunlight, Leo could see the walls around Jack starting to crumble. The fear that had gripped him earlier began to dissipate, replaced by a growing sense of determination. I want to protect us, Dad, Leo continued, and if that means confronting Fiona, then we have to do it together. I'll be right beside you. Jack smiled softly, the warmth returning to his gaze. Thank you, Leo. I'm proud of you for speaking up. You're so brave. Just then, Fiona emerged from the chapel, her face a mix of anger and disbelief. The bridal gown flowed around her like a storm cloud, and the flicker of her charm had vanished, leaving only a sharp edge behind. What's going on here? She demanded, her voice laced with hostility. Why did you two leave the ceremony? Leo felt his heart race again, the tension rising once more as Jack stepped forward, standing protectively in front of his son. Fiona, we need to talk. Leo has something important to say. Important? She scoffed, crossing her arms. This is my wedding day. What could he possibly have to say that's more important than that? Jack's expression hardened, and Leo could sense the shift in his father's demeanor. What's important is that my son feels uncomfortable with this marriage. He has concerns, and I need to hear them. Fiona's eyes narrowed, her confidence faltering as she took a step back. You can't be serious. He's just a child, Jack. What does he know about love and relationships? But I know what I see, Leo shouted, the words bursting forth with a strength he hadn't expected. I know how you treat us. You don't love my dad. You just want to use him to fill your own emptiness. The air crackled with tension, and for a moment it felt as though the world around them had fallen silent. Fiona's face flushed with anger, but Jack remained steadfast, his eyes locked onto hers. Leo's right, Jack said firmly, his voice steady. I've been so blinded by my desire for companionship that I didn't see the truth. You don't treat us as a family, you treat us like a means to an end. Fiona's expression twisted with rage and desperation. You can't mean that. I love you, Jack. I've sacrificed so much for us. I've changed for you. But that's the problem, Jack replied, his voice calm yet resolute. You've changed to fit what you think I want, not who you truly are. And if that's what love means to you, then I can't accept it. Leo's heart raced as he watched the confrontation unfold. Fiona's facade was slipping away, revealing the anger that had always lurked beneath the surface. You'll regret this, Jack. You're throwing away everything we've built together, she hissed. No, Jack countered, shaking his head. I'm choosing my son. I'm choosing what's right. I'm not throwing away anything. I'm reclaiming my life. I need to prioritize the bond I have with Leo, and if that means letting you go, then so be it. Fiona's expression darkened, and for a moment, Leo felt a flicker of fear. This was the moment that would define their lives, the moment they would either gain freedom or be trapped further in a web of deceit. But as he looked up at his father, he saw strength in Jack's eyes, a determination that filled him with hope. Jack, please. Fiona's voice was desperate now, filled with an urgency that felt like a final plea. You can't be serious. We were meant to be together. But Jack stood firm, his gaze unwavering. Not if it means losing my son. As the tension crackled in the air, Leo felt a surge of triumph mixed with relief. This was their chance to break free from the chains that had begun to bind them, and he was determined to see it through to the end. Together, they would confront the truth, and together they would find a way to rebuild their family, stronger than before. With the sun shining brightly above them, Leo and Jack stood united against the storm, ready to face whatever came next. The silence hung heavy in the air, punctuated only by the distant sound of laughter and music drifting from the reception hall. Leo's heart raced as he felt the tension between his father and Fiona reach a boiling point. He could sense the fury emanating from Fiona, the way her hands balled into fists at her sides, knuckles white with rage. Fiona took a step closer, her voice dripping with venom. You think you can just walk away from this? That you can choose your son over the life we've built? You'll regret this, Jack. You're making a huge mistake. Jack's face hardened, but Leo saw a flicker of doubt in his eyes, a momentary crack in the resolve that had seemed so solid just moments before. I don't care about the life we've built if it's built on lies, Fiona. You've manipulated me into believing that I needed you, but I see now that I don't. I need my son, and I need honesty. Fiona scoffed, the anger in her eyes morphing into something darker. Honesty? You think he knows what's best for you? He's just a child. You're throwing away everything because of a few silly doubts from a kid. Leo felt a rush of indignation. I'm not a kid. I've watched you tear our family apart with your selfishness. You pretend to love my dad, but all you care about is what he can give you. Fiona's laugh was sharp, a sound that cut through the tension like a knife. And what exactly can you give him? A weekend of gaming and pizza? You're not a replacement for adult relationships, Leo. You don't understand the complexities of love and desire. Maybe I don't, Leo retorted, but I do understand what it feels like to watch someone you care about being used. You don't love him. You're trying to own him. Jack stepped forward, the protective instinct in him surging to the forefront. Fiona, this is enough. I won't let you speak to my son like that. He deserves respect, and he deserves to have a say in his own life. With those words, a new energy surged through Leo, a sense of empowerment that urged him to speak his truth without fear. Dad, we can't just stand here and let her belittle us. We have to set boundaries now, before it's too late. Fiona's eyes narrowed, the facade of control slipping away to reveal the panic beneath. You think this is about respect? You think you can just reject me and find someone better? You'll find out soon enough how wrong you are. Jack's voice was calm yet resolute. This isn't about finding someone better. This is about the truth. It's about building a relationship based on love and trust, not manipulation and fear. Fiona's composure began to crumble. You're making a terrible mistake, Jack. You'll regret choosing your son over the life we could have had. You'll be alone. You'll be miserable. At that moment, Leo realized how fragile Fiona's hold on them truly was. The threats and insults were nothing more than desperation, a final attempt to regain control. You won't win this, Fiona, he said, his voice steady. You can't keep us hostage with your fear. We won't let you. A strained silence settled over them, and for a brief moment, it felt as if the world had paused. Leo's pulse raced as he took in the sight of Fiona's face contorting with rage, the vulnerability peeking through her carefully crafted mask. "You think you can just walk away from all of this?" she hissed, her eyes burning with fury. "You think love is easy? You'll be left with nothing." Leo met her gaze without flinching, his heart pounding in his chest. Love is not about possession or control. It's about support and understanding. You don't get to dictate what our family looks like. Jack stepped closer to Leo, standing side by side. "We're not afraid of being alone, Fiona. We'd rather be alone together than trapped in a relationship built on lies." Fiona's expression shifted from anger to disbelief, her carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble. "You're making a mistake, Jack. You'll see." "Maybe," Jack replied, "but at least it's a mistake I can live with. I'd rather have honesty with my son than the illusion of happiness with you." With that, Jack turned away from Fiona, taking Leo by the hand. They walked toward the chapel doors, leaving the confrontation behind them. Leo felt a weight lifting off his shoulders as they stepped outside into the fresh air, the sun warming their faces. As they reached the garden, Jack paused, glancing down at Leo. "You were incredible back there. I'm proud of you for standing up for us." Leo smiled, relief flooding through him. "I couldn't have done it without you, Dad. I just want us to be happy again." "We will be," Jack promised, his eyes shining with determination. "I won't let anyone come between us again. We'll take our time, rebuild our lives, and find the happiness we deserve." As they walked through the garden, hand in hand, the world felt brighter. Leo's heart swelled with hope, a promise of new beginnings. They would face the challenges ahead together, and no matter what Fiona tried to throw their way, they would stand strong, united against the storm. But as they walked away from the chapel, Leo felt a pang of uncertainty creeping in. They had confronted Fiona, but he knew this was only the beginning. The battle wasn't over, and Fiona wouldn't let go so easily. But for now, they had taken the first step toward reclaiming their lives. The laughter and music from the reception faded into the background as they moved forward, ready to embrace whatever came next. The evening sky began to darken, casting a soft glow across the garden as Jack and Leo strolled beneath the gently swaying trees. The air was thick with the scent of blooming jasmine, a stark contrast to the tension that had just unfolded. Leo could feel the adrenaline still coursing through his veins, mixing with the relief of having stood up to Fiona. Yet, amidst the euphoria, shadows of doubt loomed over him, whispering uncertainties he couldn't quite shake. "Dad?" Leo began, hesitating as he searched for the right words. "Do you really think we can be okay without her? I mean, it's just, everything feels so up in the air right now." Jack stopped and turned to face Leo, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. "It's normal to feel that way, buddy. Change is scary, especially when it feels like everything around us is shifting. But we can't let fear dictate our choices. We deserve better than a life built on deceit." Leo nodded, but the unease still churned within him. What if she tries to come back? What if she uses other ways to hurt us? Jack crouched down to Leo's level, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Fiona may try, but we have each other. We'll face whatever comes our way together. Remember, it's about being honest with ourselves and with each other. That's our strength." Leo took a deep breath, attempting to draw comfort from his father's words. "You're right, but I can't help but worry. It's like she knows how to get under our skin." "Fear can be a powerful weapon, especially for someone like her," Jack admitted, standing up straight again. "But we've seen her true colors now. We can't let her manipulate us anymore." As they continued their walk, Leo couldn't shake the image of Fiona's face from his mind. Her fury had been palpable, but beneath that rage he sensed desperation, an emotion that made her unpredictable. What if she really believes she can tear us apart? What if she starts spreading lies? Jack's expression darkened slightly. "She might try to, Leo, but we need to be prepared. We have to stay united and support one another. If we stick to the truth, nothing she says can shake us." Leo contemplated this as they reached a small wooden bench nestled under the branches of a willow tree. They sat down, the branches gently swaying above them. The soft rustling leaves seemed to echo Leo's troubled thoughts. "Do you think people will believe her?" Leo asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Jack sighed, looking out at the garden illuminated by the fading light. "Some might. People often believe what they want to believe. But you know what? We can't control that. We can only control how we respond to her. Leo's gaze drifted to the horizon, where the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows. I just want things to go back to how they were before. I want us to be a family again. Jack placed a firm hand on Leo's knee, his touch grounding. We can be a family again. It might look different, but it can be better. We have a chance to build something real, something we both deserve. Just then, the faint sound of a phone vibrating broke the tranquil atmosphere. Jack pulled out his phone and glanced at the screen, his expression shifting from calm to tense. "It's Fiona," he said, his tone darkening. "I should have expected this." "Are you going to answer?" Leo asked, a mix of fear and curiosity bubbling up inside him. Jack hesitated, staring at the screen. "I don't know. Part of me wants to ignore it completely, to not give her the satisfaction of knowing she can still reach us. But what if she's trying to manipulate you again? What if she's just looking for a way to get back at us?" With a heavy sigh, Jack pressed the button to decline the call, his determination evident. "No more games. We've made our choice. I refuse to let her dictate our lives any longer." As the phone fell silent, Leo felt a rush of pride for his father. It was a small victory, but it felt significant. Yet doubt continued to gnaw at him. "Do you think this will be enough to keep her away?" "I hope so," Jack replied, his gaze steady. "But we need to stay vigilant. We might have to confront her again, especially if she decides to escalate things. The important thing is that we don't back down. We can't give her any power over us." Leo felt a surge of gratitude for his father's strength, but the unease lingered like a dark cloud. What if we're not strong enough? Strength comes from within, Leo. It's about supporting each other, being honest, and facing the storms together. We'll learn as we go. We just have to take it one step at a time. They sat in silence for a moment, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. The stars began to twinkle above them, each one a reminder that even in darkness, light could be found. Leo took a deep breath, letting the crisp night air fill his lungs. "I'll do my best, Dad. I promise." Jack smiled, the warmth returning to his expression. "That's all I can ask. We'll figure this out together." As they rose from the bench, Leo felt a renewed sense of determination. They would face whatever challenges lay ahead, no matter how daunting. The bond between them had grown stronger, forged in the fires of confrontation and trust. But even as they walked back toward the reception hall, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that the storm was far from over. Fiona wouldn't back down easily, and he could feel the tension in the air, the calm before the inevitable storm. As they stepped back into the lively atmosphere of the party, Leo cast a cautious glance around, aware that Fiona's presence still loomed like a shadow. They had faced her once, but he knew deep down that the true test was yet to come. He just hoped that when it did, they would be ready. As dawn broke over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Leo stirred awake to the soft chirping of birds outside his window. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes and sat up, the events of the previous evening flooding back to him. He felt a mix of apprehension and resolve, knowing that the peace they had momentarily enjoyed could easily be shattered. The house was quiet as Leo made his way to the kitchen, the faint aroma of coffee drifting through the air. He found Jack sitting at the table, a steaming mug in front of him, his expression contemplative. "Morning, Leo," Jack greeted, his voice low but steady. "How did you sleep?" Leo shrugged, sliding into the chair opposite his father. "I don't know. I kept thinking about Fiona and what she might do next. It feels like she's always one step ahead of us." Jack nodded, a pensive look crossing his face. "It's natural to feel that way, but we can't let her control our thoughts or our lives. We need to focus on what we can do, not on what she might try to take from us." "Yeah, but it's hard," Leo admitted, staring into his own mug of hot chocolate, the chocolate swirling slowly in the warm liquid. "I just wish she'd disappear." Jack took a sip of his coffee, his eyes thoughtful. "Trust me, I understand. But we need to be cautious. It's important to remember why we made the decision to cut her out of our lives. We deserve to be free of her toxic influence." Leo nodded but felt a flicker of doubt. What if she decides to come after us in a different way? What if she tells everyone lies about us? "That's a risk we have to be ready for," Jack replied firmly. We can't control what others believe, but we can control how we react. Our truth is our armor. We need to stay united, and if she tries to attack our character, we'll confront it together. As they sat in silence, Leo's mind began to wander. The memories of Fiona's manipulations and deceptions swirled around him like ghosts, reminding him of the pain and confusion she had caused. The image of her fury and desperation was etched into his memory, fueling both his fear and his determination. "What if she brings up the past?" Leo asked suddenly, his voice trembling slightly. "What if she tries to twist old stories or memories to make us look bad?" Jack's expression hardened, and he leaned forward, his intensity palpable. "If she does, we need to be ready to stand firm. Our past doesn't define us, Leo. It's the choices we make today that matter most. We won't let her rewrite our story." Leo took a deep breath, feeling a mixture of fear and hope. "You're right, but it's hard not to feel the weight of it all." Jack reached across the table, placing a steady hand on Leo's. "It's okay to feel overwhelmed. Acknowledging those feelings is the first step, but we have to channel that energy into something positive. Let's create new memories that outweigh the old ones." Leo looked into his father's eyes, seeing the determination reflected back at him. "Okay, I'll try. But I still think we should have a plan, just in case." Jack smiled, the warmth returning to his features. "I completely agree. Let's start by discussing our options and how we can best support each other if she decides to make a move." The two of them spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, jotting down notes on a notepad that lay on the table. They discussed strategies for handling potential confrontations, how to communicate effectively with friends and family, and ways to fortify their bond against any external threats. As they spoke, Leo felt a renewed sense of purpose. He realized that they were not alone in this fight. They had each other, and together they could face whatever challenges Fiona threw their way. After finalizing their plans, Leo felt a weight lift off his shoulders. "Thanks, Dad. I feel a lot better now. I guess I just needed to talk it through." Jack smiled, pride evident in his eyes. "That's what I'm here for. Remember, communication is key. We'll always be stronger when we're open with each other." With their conversation concluded, Leo felt a surge of determination. He was ready to face whatever lay ahead. As they finished their breakfast and prepared to face the day, Leo knew deep down that the shadows of the past could only linger if he allowed them to. It was time to step into the light. Just then, the shrill sound of Leo's phone vibrating against the table cut through the air. He reached for it, his heart racing as he recognized the caller ID. It was Fiona. "Dad," Leo said, his voice tightening with anxiety. "It's her." Jack's expression turned serious. "Do you want to answer?" Leo hesitated, glancing at Jack for guidance. "What if it's just a ploy? What if she's trying to manipulate me again?" "Only you can decide," Jack replied, his tone calm yet firm. "But remember, you're in control now. If you want to confront her, I'll be right here." Taking a deep breath, Leo steeled himself and pressed the green button to answer. As he did, he felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, unsure of what awaited him on the other end of the line. "Leo," Fiona's voice dripped with false sweetness. "I'm so glad you picked up. We need to talk." Leo clenched his jaw, determination flaring within him. He was ready to face her, to stand his ground and not let her weave her web of lies. Whatever came next, he would not be a pawn in her game any longer. "Leo, I've been trying to reach you," Fiona continued, her voice feigned sweetness draping over the line like a velvet glove hiding a sharp blade. "I think we need to clear the air about everything that's happened. I didn't mean for things to get so complicated." Leo's heart raced. He could hear the undercurrent of insincerity in her tone, a familiar note that always sent a chill down his spine. "Complicated? You mean the lies and the manipulation?" he replied, trying to keep his voice steady. Fiona let out a dramatic sigh. "Leo, please. This isn't about pointing fingers. I just want us to understand each other better. We've shared so much together. I want to help you." "Help me? Is that what you call it?" Leo shot back, his frustration bubbling to the surface. "You've spent the last few months tearing our family apart. You've lied and schemed. You think I'd believe you have my best interests at heart?" A pause lingered on the line, thick with tension. He could almost see her, her face twisted in mock concern, eyes sparkling with the thrill of the game they were playing. I know I made mistakes, but I've changed, Leo. I want to make amends. We could be so much more than this, she urged, desperation creeping into her voice. Leo felt a surge of anger, but he also sensed the flicker of doubt that Fiona's words could ignite. You always say that, he countered, trying to hold on to the resolve he had built alongside Jack. But every time, you just end up hurting us more. Let me prove it to you, she insisted, her voice smooth and inviting. Let's meet, just you and me. No distractions. I'll explain everything, and you'll see that I truly want to make things right. Meet? Leo repeated incredulously. Why would I ever want to meet you alone? You've manipulated me before, and I won't fall for it again. Because this time, it's different. Fiona pleaded, her tone shifting to one of earnest desperation. I've realized I've lost you, Leo. And without you, I don't know how to move forward. I want to change, but I need your help to do it. I just need you to trust me for one moment. Leo could feel the weight of her words, the emotional pull that she was so adept at wielding. But this time, he fought against it. You say you want to change, but how can I trust someone who's hurt me so deeply? Because deep down, you know I'm still the same person you cared for, she replied, her voice softening. I miss our connection. Please, let's talk. Just once, for old time's sake. Leo's heart raced, torn between the part of him that longed for closure and the stronger part that screamed to keep his distance. He glanced at Jack, who had remained silent but vigilant, watching him closely as if reading the tumult of emotions washing over him. Leo, Jack urged softly, sensing his son's internal struggle. Remember what we talked about. She's trying to draw you back in. You don't owe her anything. Taking a deep breath, Leo replied, I need time to think, Fiona. I'll talk to you later. Without waiting for a response, he ended the call and placed his phone on the table, feeling a mix of relief and dread. Jack leaned in, concern etched on his face. You okay? I don't know, Leo admitted, running a hand through his hair. Part of me wants to understand her, to see if she really means what she says. But another part of me knows it's a trap. She's always been good at spinning stories that make her the victim. Jack nodded, placing his hand on Leo's shoulder. You don't need to figure it all out right now. Just remember, your feelings are valid. It's okay to feel conflicted, but don't let her manipulate your emotions again. You've come too far to allow that. Leo looked out the window, watching as the sun climbed higher into the sky, illuminating the world around him. I feel like she's just going to keep coming back, trying to worm her way into my life again. She will, Jack replied, his voice steady. But we're prepared. We can handle her. Just remember our plan and stay true to yourself. You're stronger than you think, Leo. Feeling a rush of gratitude, Leo turned to his father. Thanks, Dad. I know you're right. I just wish I didn't have to deal with her at all. Jack smiled, the warmth returning to his expression. You don't have to face her alone. Whatever happens, we'll handle it together. As they sat together in the kitchen, the weight of the call still heavy in the air, Leo couldn't shake the feeling that Fiona was far from done with them. He knew he needed to be ready for whatever came next. But amidst the uncertainty, Leo felt a renewed sense of determination. He was not the scared boy who had once been easily manipulated by Fiona's charms. He had a family, a support system, and above all, a newfound strength to fight against the shadows of the past. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Leo's mind. What if we gather our friends, the ones who know the truth about her? We could come together and stand strong as a united front. That way, if she tries to twist things again, we'll have each other's backs. Jack's eyes lit up at the suggestion. That's a fantastic idea. Surrounding yourself with people who understand your journey will only make you stronger. Let's reach out to them. With that, Leo felt a surge of hope, and for the first time in a while, he was excited about the future. He began to make a list of friends they could invite over, feeling the shadows of doubt slowly dissipate as he envisioned their support. The days stretched out before him, filled with possibilities, and he knew that whatever happened with Fiona, he wouldn't be facing it alone. Together, they would fight against the shadows and emerge into the light. The sun dipped low in the sky as Leo gathered his friends in the cozy living room. Jack had prepared snacks, filling the table with bowls of popcorn, chips, and homemade cookies, their sweet aroma wafting through the air. The familiar sound of laughter and banter enveloped the room as Leo's friends trickled in, their spirits buoyed by the casual atmosphere. Among them were Mia, an outspoken and fiercely loyal friend, and Ethan, the jokester who always found a way to lighten the mood. Each person brought a unique energy to the group, and Leo felt a warmth spread through him as he took in their faces, each one a pillar of support. "All right, everyone, thanks for coming on short notice," Leo called out, gathering their attention. "I know things have been tense lately, especially with Fiona lurking around, but I wanted to talk about something important." Mia, perched on the arm of the couch, leaned forward. "You mean the drama queen X? What's her latest scheme?" she asked, her tone a mix of disdain and concern. "Actually, she called me earlier today," Leo admitted, the room falling silent. "She wants to meet, says she's changed and wants to make amends." Ethan scoffed, tossing a piece of popcorn into his mouth. "And you believe her? You're smarter than that, Leo." Leo held up a hand. "I don't want to go into this blind. I need your help to figure out what to do. I think we can't just let her come back without some sort of plan." Mia exchanged glances with Ethan, who raised an eyebrow. "What do you have in mind?" Leo took a deep breath, summoning the courage to share his idea. "I want us to stand together. If she's going to try and manipulate me again, I want you all there as a united front. We can strategize, share our experiences, and figure out the best way to handle her." A wave of murmurs rippled through the room as the weight of Leo's words settled in. His friends understood the gravity of the situation, and their expressions shifted from amusement to seriousness. Mia nodded, determination gleaming in her eyes. "You're right. We need to show her that she can't just waltz back into your life and make demands. You're not alone in this." Ethan chimed in, a hint of mischief in his voice. "Plus, I've got some tricks up my sleeve if she tries to play her games again. I'll have her eating popcorn out of my hand in no time." He grinned, trying to break the tension. "Let's focus, Ethan," Mia said, rolling her eyes but unable to suppress a smile. "We need to be serious about this. Leo deserves to be supported." "Exactly," Leo agreed, feeling a swell of gratitude. "I appreciate you all. I know Fiona is going to try and twist things, but if we're prepared, we can handle whatever she throws our way." The group began brainstorming, tossing around ideas on how to approach the situation. They shared their own experiences with Fiona, recounting moments where she had manipulated or lied to them, revealing the patterns that Leo had once overlooked. Each story reinforced Leo's resolve, showing him the strength of their bond. As the evening wore on, laughter intermingled with serious discussions, and Leo felt a weight lifting off his shoulders. With every passing moment, he realized he was no longer just the victim in this situation. He was taking control of his narrative. Later, as the group settled into a relaxed atmosphere, Mia leaned closer to Leo. "You know, you've grown a lot through this. You're not that scared kid anymore. You're ready to fight for yourself." Leo met her gaze, the sincerity in her eyes bolstering his confidence. "Thanks, Mia. It's hard to believe that sometimes, but with all of you behind me, I feel stronger." The doorbell chimed unexpectedly, causing a stir among the friends. Leo's heart raced as he exchanged a look with Jack, who nodded reassuringly. "Let's check who it is," Jack suggested, standing up to answer the door. As Leo stood there, his mind raced with possibilities. What if it was Fiona? What if she had decided to confront him before their planned meeting? He swallowed hard, forcing himself to breathe steadily. Jack opened the door, and to Leo's relief, it was just their neighbor, Mrs. Henderson, holding a plate of cookies. "I thought I'd bring these over," she said with a warm smile, oblivious to the tension in the room. "I heard you have some friends over." "Thanks, Mrs. Henderson," Leo replied, feeling a wave of relief wash over him. He accepted the plate, grateful for the distraction. As he turned back to the group, laughter erupted once more, dispelling the earlier tension. The friendly banter resumed, and Leo felt a renewed sense of determination. No matter what Fiona had planned, he knew he wouldn't face her alone. Later that night, as everyone began to leave, Mia pulled Leo aside. "Remember, you're in control now. Don't let her manipulate your emotions again. You've got us." "I know," Leo said, feeling a rush of gratitude. "Thanks for everything, Mia. It means the world to me." As he closed the door behind his friends, Leo felt a newfound sense of clarity. He was ready to face Fiona, not as the scared boy she had once manipulated, but as someone who had the strength and support of those who truly cared for him. The battle was just beginning, but this time he would fight with his friends by his side, determined to reclaim his life from the shadows of the past. The day of the meeting dawned bright and clear, but Leo felt a storm brewing inside him. He had spent the night tossing and turning, going over every possible scenario in his mind. The sunlight streaming through his window felt almost mocking, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling in his chest. As he sat at the kitchen table, coffee in hand, he mentally prepared himself for what lay ahead. "Are you sure about this?" Jack asked, breaking Leo from his thoughts as he entered the room, still half asleep. The concern in Jack's voice was palpable, reflecting the worry that lingered in the air. "I have to be," Leo replied, taking a deep breath. "I can't keep running from her. It's time to face it head on." Jack nodded, though uncertainty flickered in his eyes. "Just remember what we talked about. Keep your cool, and don't let her get to you. You've got this." Leo managed a small smile, grateful for Jack's unwavering support. "Thanks, man. I'm going to need it." As the hour approached, Leo felt a knot tightening in his stomach. He had agreed to meet Fiona at a small cafe downtown, a neutral ground. The thought of seeing her again brought back memories he'd tried to bury, but this time he was determined to stand his ground. Arriving at the cafe, Leo scanned the bustling crowd, his heart racing as he spotted Fiona sitting at a table in the corner. Her hair was pulled back, and she wore a casual outfit, but there was an air of confidence about her that sent a shiver down his spine. She glanced up as he approached, her expression a mix of surprise and delight. "Leo, I'm glad you came," she said, her voice smooth and inviting. "I was worried you wouldn't show." "Yeah, well, here I am," he replied, trying to keep his tone neutral. He slid into the chair opposite her, determined to maintain a composed demeanor despite the storm of emotions brewing inside. Fiona leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with what could only be described as false sincerity. "I know things ended badly between us, but I really have changed. I've had time to reflect, and I want to make amends. I hope you can forgive me." Leo swallowed hard, the words catching in his throat. He wanted to believe her, but the memories of her manipulations echoed in his mind, a haunting reminder of the past. "Fiona, it's not that simple. You hurt me and my friends. You can't just expect everything to go back to normal." Her expression faltered for a moment, a flicker of annoyance crossing her features before she regained her composure. "I understand that. But we had something special, didn't we? I miss that connection, and I think we could still have a future together." Leo shook his head, disbelief coursing through him. "You mean the future where you used me for your own gain? I'm not interested in going back to that." Fiona's demeanor shifted, the charm fading as she leaned back in her chair. "You don't really mean that. Deep down you know we belong together. You're just afraid of what it means to be alone." Leo felt anger bubbling beneath the surface. "No, Fiona, I'm not afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of being manipulated again. You've caused enough damage in my life. It's time for you to take responsibility for your actions." The tension in the air thickened as Fiona's eyes narrowed, her previous facade slipping away. "You think you can just cut me out of your life? I won't let that happen. You may have your friends now, but I know you. I know your weaknesses." Leo could feel the heat rising in his cheeks, the anger spilling over. "I won't let you intimidate me any longer. You don't own me, Fiona. I'm not your puppet anymore." The silence that followed was heavy, the cafe's ambient noise fading into the background as they stared each other down. For the first time, Leo saw Fiona for who she truly was, a toxic presence that thrived on control and manipulation. Fiona's expression shifted again, this time hardening into something more sinister. "You think you can walk away from me? I will make sure everyone knows what you did. I'll tell them the truth about you." Leo's heart raced, but he stood firm. "Go ahead. I'm not afraid of your threats anymore. You've lost your power over me." With that, he pushed back his chair and stood up, feeling a rush of liberation as he turned to leave. But Fiona's voice called out after him, laced with desperation. "Leo, you can't just walk away like this. We could still be together if you just give me a chance." He paused for a brief moment, glancing back at her, and in that instant he realized how far he had come. The boy who once feared her had transformed into a man who refused to be a victim any longer. No, Fiona, I'm done. I deserve better, and I'm ready to embrace that. As he walked out of the cafe, the cool breeze hit his face, and he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. The confrontation had been challenging, but it was a crucial step toward reclaiming his life. He pulled out his phone and texted Jack. I did it. I stood up to her. The reply came almost instantly. Proud of you, Leo. Let's celebrate tonight. A smile broke across Leo's face as he stepped onto the sidewalk, the sun shining down on him like a newfound hope. He was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, knowing that he had the support of his friends. This was just the beginning of his journey to reclaiming his life, and for the first time in a long time, he felt truly free. The days following the confrontation with Fiona passed in a blur. Leo found solace in his friends and the routine he had crafted for himself. He immersed himself in work, channeling his energy into his projects, but the victory over Fiona still loomed large in his mind. While he felt proud of standing up for himself, the emotional aftermath was more complex than he had anticipated. There were moments when doubts crept in, shadows of insecurity whispering that perhaps he had made a mistake. One evening, as he sat in his apartment with a half-finished project spread out across the dining table, he decided it was time to reconnect with those he had unintentionally distanced himself from during his tumultuous relationship with Fiona. He picked up his phone and started texting friends, reaching out to those he hadn't spoken to in weeks. Hey, it's Leo. How about we meet up this weekend? I'd love to catch up. Let's go grab some food. He hit send and watched as the messages disappeared into the digital ether, a mix of anticipation and anxiety swirling in his stomach. Would they still want to see him after everything? Would they understand what he had gone through? The reply came almost instantly from Mia, one of his closest friends. Count me in. It's been too long. I miss you guys. Her enthusiasm was infectious, and Leo felt a spark of excitement reignite within him. Over the next few hours, replies flooded in from Jack and a few others, confirming their attendance and expressing eagerness to reconnect. As the weekend approached, Leo found himself restless with anticipation. He spent the days leading up to the meetup reflecting on the past few months, the mistakes he had made, and the lessons he had learned. He wanted to be open and honest with his friends about his experiences, but he also wanted to focus on the present and future. The evening of the gathering arrived, and Leo chose a vibrant new restaurant downtown that had just opened, known for its eclectic menu and lively atmosphere. As he walked in, the warm glow of the lights and the cheerful buzz of conversations enveloped him, and he felt a rush of nostalgia. This was where he thrived. Surrounded by friends, sharing laughter and stories, he spotted Mia and Jack seated at a table in the corner, their faces lighting up when they saw him. There he is, Mia exclaimed, waving him over. We were just talking about you. As he approached, Leo's heart swelled with gratitude. The warmth of their friendship felt like a balm to his wounds. Hey, I'm so glad you both could make it. They exchanged greetings, and the conversation flowed easily, punctuated by laughter and playful banter. Leo felt a sense of normalcy returning, the laughter of his friends echoing around him like a melody. It was a reminder of who he was before Fiona's shadow loomed over him. So tell us what's been going on, Jack prompted, leaning in with genuine curiosity. We've missed our favorite tech guru. Leo hesitated for a moment, weighing how much to reveal. He wanted to be honest, but also didn't want to dampen the mood. Honestly, things have been complicated. I had to confront someone from my past recently. It was tough, but I finally stood up for myself. Mia raised her eyebrows, intrigued. Oh, you mean Fiona? Yeah, Leo admitted, a sense of relief washing over him. It felt good to face her and take back control, but it's also been an emotional roller coaster since then. I'm still trying to figure things out. Jack nodded, his expression serious. That's a big step, man. You should be proud of yourself. It's not easy to confront someone like that, especially when they've had such an impact on your life. Leo smiled, grateful for the validation. Thanks. I guess I just want to move forward, you know? I want to rebuild the relationships I let slip while I was with her. Consider this the first step, Mia said, raising her glass. To new beginnings. They clinked their glasses together, the sound ringing like a promise. As they dug into their meals and shared stories, Leo felt a renewed sense of hope. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't just looking back at the past, he was embracing the future. The night unfolded with laughter, deep conversations, and the kind of camaraderie that reminded Leo of the strength found in friendship. As they reminisced about old memories, he felt a sense of belonging wash over him, a reminder that he was never truly alone. But just as Leo was settling into this newfound peace, a familiar face appeared at the entrance of the restaurant. His heart sank as he saw Fiona walk in, her gaze scanning the room until it landed on him. Panic surged within him, and for a moment the warmth of the evening faded. "Leo?" Jack's voice broke through his thoughts. Concern etched on his face as he noticed the shift in Leo's demeanor. I need to go," Leo stammered, rising from his seat. He could feel Fiona's eyes on him, a weight pressing down that threatened to suffocate him. "I'll be right back." Without waiting for a response, he made his way toward the exit, his heart racing as he tried to maintain his composure. The restaurant's laughter faded into the background as he stepped outside, the cool night air hitting his face like a splash of cold water. What was she doing here? Leo felt a mix of dread and anger bubbling inside him. He had just begun to reclaim his life, and now she was threatening to unravel it all over again. Taking a deep breath, he prepared himself for the inevitable confrontation. He would not back down this time. He was done being afraid. Leo stood outside the restaurant, his heart pounding in his chest. The bustling noise of laughter and chatter faded into an eerie silence as he stared at the entrance. He took a deep breath, feeling the cool night air fill his lungs, hoping to regain some sense of control. The encounter with Fiona was something he had dreaded, yet, now that it was happening, a surge of determination welled within him. As he gathered his thoughts, he turned to face her. Fiona stood just a few feet away, her expression a mixture of surprise and something he couldn't quite place, perhaps regret. She was dressed sharply, a stark contrast to the disheveled state he had often found her in during their relationship. The air between them crackled with unresolved tension, and for a moment neither of them spoke. "Leo," she finally said, breaking the silence. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Clearly," he replied, his voice steadier than he felt. "What do you want, Fiona?" She looked taken aback by his directness. "I just wanted to talk. I've been thinking about things, and I realize I might have been too harsh. I wanted to apologize." Leo's instincts flared. This was the same woman who had walked out on him, who had manipulated him into believing he was at fault for everything that went wrong between them. He crossed his arms, unwilling to let her soft words take root. "An apology? That's rich coming from you." "Please, just let me explain," she pressed, her tone earnest. "I've had time to reflect, and I see things differently now. I wasn't in a good place, and I took it out on you. You didn't deserve that." Leo struggled to contain his frustration. "You're right. I didn't, but that doesn't change the hurt you caused. I've spent a lot of time trying to heal from what happened. I don't think a few words will fix everything." Fiona stepped closer, her gaze searching his. "I don't expect it to, but I want you to know that I'm trying to change. I've started seeing someone, a therapist, I mean, and it's helped me realize how toxic I was. I want to make amends." Leo couldn't believe what he was hearing. The woman who had pushed him away, belittled his achievements, and filled his life with doubt was now seeking redemption. It felt surreal, almost as if he were watching a movie rather than living through this moment. But behind the incredulity, a flicker of curiosity emerged. Could people really change? "I don't know if you really understand what you put me through," he replied, his voice tinged with emotion. "I lost myself trying to make things work with you. It took me months to find my way back." "I know," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "and I'm so sorry for that. I wish I could take it all back. If you could just give me a chance to show you I'm different." "Why should I?" Leo interrupted, feeling the weight of his past collide with the present. "Why should I risk being hurt again?" Fiona's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "Because I'm not the same person I was before. I see that now. I know I can't erase the past, but I want to make things right. Even if that means just being friends." Leo hesitated. He could see a flicker of sincerity in her eyes, but could he really trust it? They had shared so much together, both good and bad. The memories were a tangled web, and while he was beginning to unravel himself from the darkness, he was terrified of getting pulled back in. "Look, I need time to think," he said finally, his voice firm. "You've hurt me deeply, and it's not something I can just forget. I'm not sure I'm ready to have you back in my life, even as a friend." Fiona nodded slowly, her expression a mix of understanding and disappointment. "I get it. I just wanted you to know I'm working on myself. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive me someday." With that, she turned to leave, and Leo felt an unexpected pang of regret wash over him. He wasn't sure if it was for her or for the version of himself that had loved her so deeply. He watched her walk away, her silhouette disappearing into the night, and he felt a profound sense of loss, not just for what they had, but for the person he had been when he was with her. As he turned back to rejoin his friends, he felt a mix of relief and uncertainty. He had faced Fiona and held his ground, yet a part of him was left unsettled. Would he ever truly be free of the past? Would this encounter haunt him, or was it a necessary step in his healing journey? Back at the table, his friends were deep in conversation, oblivious to the emotional storm that had just unfolded. As he sat down, Mia glanced at him, concern etched on her face. "Leo, are you okay? You look a bit pale." "I'm fine," he replied, forcing a smile. "Just ran into someone I didn't expect to see." Jack raised an eyebrow, the tension in Leo's demeanor not lost on him. "Was it Fiona?" "Yeah," Leo admitted, his heart still racing. "We talked. She wanted to apologize, but I told her I needed time." Mia reached out, placing a comforting hand on his arm. "That's good. You did the right thing. Don't rush into anything. Focus on yourself for now." He nodded, grateful for her support. As the night wore on, laughter and stories filled the air, but Leo couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The confrontation had sparked something within him, a reminder that healing was not a linear path, but a winding journey, filled with unexpected encounters and challenging decisions. Outside the restaurant, the night sky stretched vast and endless above him, a canvas of stars that seemed to twinkle with possibility. For the first time in a long while, Leo felt a flicker of hope igniting in his chest. No matter what lay ahead, he was ready to embrace the journey. The following days blurred into a whirlwind of activity for Leo. He immersed himself in his work, the deadlines at the advertising agency providing a much-needed distraction from the emotional upheaval of his encounter with Fiona. However, every time he settled into his routine, a nagging thought crept into his mind, reminding him of their conversation. One evening, after a long day filled with meetings and brainstorming sessions, Leo found himself sitting at his desk, staring at the screen without really seeing it. The soft glow of the monitor illuminated his face, but his thoughts were miles away. He recalled Fiona's earnest plea for forgiveness, the glimmer of sincerity in her eyes. "Am I being too harsh?" he murmured to himself, rubbing his temples. "Maybe I should give her a chance." But doubt clawed at him. He recalled the countless nights he had spent questioning his worth while trying to mend their relationship. Was it really wise to open that door again? Leo sighed, feeling the weight of uncertainty settle on his shoulders. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the city, Leo's phone buzzed on his desk. It was a message from Mia. "Hey, we're all meeting at the rooftop bar tonight. You should come. It'll be fun." He hesitated, considering the invitation. He could choose to wallow in his thoughts or embrace the chance to connect with friends. With a determined nod, he typed back, "I'll be there." The rooftop bar was alive with energy when Leo arrived. Laughter mingled with the clinking of glasses, and the warm breeze carried the sounds of conversation into the night. His friends had already claimed a table near the edge, offering a stunning view of the city skyline. "Hey, look who finally decided to join us," Jack exclaimed, waving him over. "Didn't want to miss out on the fun," Leo replied, forcing a smile as he settled into a chair. Mia leaned over, her eyes sparkling. "We're just talking about our next group trip. How does a weekend getaway to the beach sound?" Leo's heart lifted slightly at the idea. "Sounds amazing. When do we leave?" "We're thinking in a couple of weeks. It'll be a perfect escape to unwind and recharge," she said, pouring him a drink. As the evening wore on, Leo found himself laughing and enjoying the banter with his friends. They shared stories and reminisced about past trips, the kind of carefree moments that reminded him of who he was before Fiona had entered his life. Yet as the laughter flowed, his mind drifted back to her. Was she genuinely trying to change? Or was this another ploy to regain his trust? Suddenly, Leo felt a hand on his shoulder. It was Mia, her expression serious. "You've been quieter than usual tonight. Is everything okay?" He took a deep breath, weighing whether to confide in her. "It's just, I ran into Fiona the other day. She apologized and said she's trying to change." Mia's brow furrowed. "And how do you feel about that?" "I don't know," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "Part of me wants to believe her, but another part is terrified of being hurt again." Mia nodded, understanding etched across her face. "That makes total sense. Just remember, you have every right to protect yourself. You've come so far, Leo. Don't let the past drag you back." As Leo contemplated her words, the weight in his chest began to lighten. Perhaps this trip could be a fresh start, a chance to focus on his healing journey without the looming shadow of his past. "Thanks, Mia. I think I needed to hear that," he said, giving her a grateful smile. The following week passed in a flurry of excitement as the group prepared for their beach getaway. Leo found himself eagerly packing his bags, the anticipation of sand, sun, and laughter stirring a sense of freedom within him. On the drive to the beach, Leo sat in the back seat with Mia, while Jack drove and their friend Sarah navigated. The car was filled with music and chatter, each song evoking memories of past adventures, laughter spilling over as they retold stories of their shared experiences. "Remember that time we got lost on our way to the cabin?" Sarah laughed, her eyes bright with nostalgia. "I thought we were going to end up camping in the middle of nowhere." Leo chuckled, picturing their frantic search for the right path, and Jack was convinced he could read the map. "I still can, thank you very much," Jack interjected, rolling his eyes playfully. The warmth of their camaraderie enveloped him, and for the first time in weeks, Leo felt a lightness in his heart. He was surrounded by friends who cherished him for who he was, not who he had been with Fiona. Once they arrived at the beach, Leo marveled at the beauty around him. The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a golden glow over the rolling waves, the sound of the ocean calming his mind. As they set up their beach towels and umbrellas, he felt a surge of gratitude for this moment. "Let's go for a swim," Mia suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. The group raced toward the water, laughter ringing out as they splashed in the surf. Leo felt the cool water envelop him, washing away the remnants of stress and doubt. For that moment, nothing mattered but the present, the waves, the sun, and the company of his friends. Later, as they sat around a bonfire on the beach, roasting marshmallows and sharing stories under a starlit sky, Leo felt a sense of peace settle within him. He realized that while his past with Fiona would always be a part of him, it no longer defined him. As the flames danced and crackled, illuminating the faces of his friends, Leo understood that this was his new beginning. Rebuilding bridges didn't always mean reconnecting with those who had hurt him. Sometimes it meant fortifying the bonds with those who truly mattered. Looking at Mia, Jack, and Sarah, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. This trip was not just an escape, it was a pivotal moment in his journey of healing and rediscovery. He would take it one day at a time, forging ahead with hope and resilience. And in that moment, with the firelight flickering around him and the soothing sound of the ocean in the background, Leo realized that he was ready to embrace whatever came next. The following days at the beach unfolded like a vivid tapestry, each moment woven with laughter, adventure, and the gentle rhythm of the ocean. Leo found himself immersing in the carefree atmosphere, leaving behind the burdens of his past. Each sunrise brought with it the promise of a new beginning, and Leo was determined to embrace it fully. One morning, as the sun peeked over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Leo woke early. He decided to take a solitary walk along the shore, relishing the solitude before his friends stirred. The sand felt cool beneath his feet, and the salty breeze brushed against his skin, invigorating him. With each step, Leo reflected on the changes within him. He no longer felt tethered to the mistakes of his past, and the weight of Fiona's betrayal began to lift, replaced by a burgeoning sense of hope. He paused to admire the waves crashing against the shore, their rhythm steady and reassuring. Suddenly a thought struck him. He wanted to capture this moment, to hold on to the feelings of clarity and freedom. He pulled out his phone and snapped a picture of the breathtaking view. As he did, a smile crept across his face. It wasn't just about the scenery, it was about the journey he was on, the one that led him to rediscover himself. That afternoon, the group decided to organize a beach volleyball game. Leo's heart raced with excitement as they set up the net, the competitive spirit igniting within him. They divided into teams, laughter and playful banter filling the air. Leo's team consisted of Mia, Sarah, and another friend named Ethan, while Jack led the opposing team. The sun beat down on them, but the heat only fueled their enthusiasm. "All right, let's show them what we've got," Mia shouted, her eyes sparkling with determination. As the game began, Leo felt the familiar adrenaline coursing through him. He dove for the ball, sand flying beneath him, laughter ringing out as they played. It felt good to be in the moment, to be part of something so joyous and unrestrained. "Nice save, Leo," Sarah cheered as he made a particularly impressive dive, his heart swelling with pride. After several intense rallies, the score remained tight and the competition grew fiercer. But Leo found that it wasn't just about winning, it was about the camaraderie, the sense of belonging he felt among his friends. They cheered each other on, reveling in every point scored. Finally, after a heated match, Leo's team emerged victorious. They collapsed onto the sand, breathless and exhilarated. "Who knew we had such talent?" Jack joked, shaking his head in mock disbelief. "I'll be practicing harder for the rematch. Next time, it's game on," Leo replied, grinning from ear to ear. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow across the beach, the group gathered around the bonfire once again. They roasted marshmallows, sharing stories and laughter under the vast starlit sky. The crackling flames warmed their faces, while the soothing sound of the waves provided a calming backdrop. "Leo," Mia began, her tone shifting to something more serious. "I've seen you grow so much during this trip. It's like you've really started to find yourself again. I'm proud of you." Leo felt a rush of warmth at her words. "Thanks, Mia. It's been a journey, but I think I'm finally starting to understand what I want, what I deserve." The group fell into a comfortable silence, the kind that wrapped around them like a blanket. In that moment, Leo realized how important these connections were. They were his anchor as he navigated the stormy waters of his emotions. As the fire flickered, casting shadows on their faces, Leo felt a surge of gratitude for his friends. They had been there for him through his darkest moments. And now, they were witnessing his rebirth. "Let's make a pact," Ethan suggested, breaking the silence. "No matter where life takes us, we'll always be there for each other, through thick and thin." Everyone nodded in agreement, their expressions earnest. Leo felt a swell of emotion as they raised their marshmallow sticks in unison, a small but powerful gesture that signified their commitment to one another. "I'm in," Leo said, his voice steady. "We're in this together." Later that night, as Leo lay in his sleeping bag beneath the stars, he reflected on the days that had passed. The soothing sound of the waves lulled him into a peaceful state, and he felt a sense of belonging he hadn't experienced in a long time. But in the back of his mind, Fiona lingered, a specter from his past. He knew he had to confront that part of his life eventually to find closure on his terms. Just then, his phone buzzed beside him, and he glanced at the screen. It was a message from Fiona. "Can we talk?" Leo's heart raced. This was the moment he had both anticipated and dreaded. He took a deep breath, letting the night air fill his lungs as he considered his response. After a moment of deliberation, he typed back, "I'm not sure, but I'll think about it." As he pressed send, Leo felt a mixture of anxiety and relief. He had come so far on this journey of self-discovery, and now he was faced with the choice of whether to open that door again. Tomorrow would bring a new day, a chance to reflect and decide what he truly wanted. For now, he focused on the warmth of friendship and the sound of the ocean, knowing that whatever lay ahead, he was stronger than he had ever been. In this moment, Leo chose to embrace the uncertainty, ready to navigate the waves of change, one step at a time. The dawn of a new day broke over the horizon, bathing the beach in soft golden light. Leo stirred from his sleep, the gentle sound of waves lapping against the shore, mixing with the distant cries of seagulls. As he unzipped his sleeping bag, the cool morning air brushed against his skin, refreshing yet familiar. Today, he had a decision to make. The message from Fiona still lingered in his mind, echoing the unresolved feelings he thought he had put to rest. Leo sat up, the sand beneath him warm from the morning sun, and took a moment to gather his thoughts. He remembered the heartbreak, the betrayal, and the painful moments he had endured. Yet he also remembered the good times they had shared, the laughter, the love, the dreams they once built together. He felt a knot in his stomach as he contemplated whether to reply to Fiona's message. What could she possibly say that would change what had happened? Was he ready to confront the ghosts of his past? The enormity of the decision weighed heavily on him, but deep down, he knew he couldn't move forward without addressing it. After breakfast, Leo joined his friends by the bonfire. They were laughing and joking, a stark contrast to the turmoil swirling within him. Mia caught his eye and, sensing something was off, gave him a questioning look. "Everything okay, Leo?" she asked, concern etched on her face. "Yeah, just thinking about some stuff," he replied, forcing a smile. "Is it about Fiona?" she probed gently. Leo nodded, feeling the weight of her gaze. "She texted me last night. She wants to talk." Mia's expression softened. "Have you decided what you want to do?" "I'm not sure," he admitted, running a hand through his hair. "Part of me wants to hear her out, but another part of me is terrified. What if it just opens old wounds?" Mia took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting the morning sunlight. "You've come so far, Leo. You're stronger now. Whatever you decide, just make sure it's for you. You deserve to find peace." He appreciated her support, yet the uncertainty still gnawed at him. They spent the morning at the beach, playing games and enjoying each other's company, but Leo's mind was elsewhere. The laughter and fun felt like a temporary reprieve, a distraction from the impending conversation he knew he had to have. As noon approached, Leo excused himself for a moment, needing some time alone. He walked toward the water's edge, the waves lapping at his feet, grounding him in the present. He took a deep breath, inhaling the salty air, and pulled out his phone. "What do I want?" The question echoed in his mind as he stared at the screen, contemplating his next move. With trembling fingers, he opened the messaging app. "I'm open to talking, but I need to know why." He hesitated for a moment before hitting send, the weight of the decision settling heavily on his shoulders. The response was swift. "Thank you. I promise I'll explain everything." Leo felt a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. He didn't know what Fiona would say or how it would make him feel, but he knew he had to confront it. After returning to his friends, Leo felt more resolute, though the tightness in his chest remained. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, they decided to take a break from the beach and head to a nearby cafe for lunch. The cafe, a cozy establishment nestled among palm trees, offered a menu filled with fresh seafood and tropical smoothies. As they settled at a table outside, the vibrant atmosphere buzzed with life, and for a moment, Leo was distracted by the beauty of the day. He watched his friends banter and tease each other, their joy infectious. Yet in the back of his mind, thoughts of Fiona loomed large. He could feel the tension building as he anticipated their conversation. "What's on your mind, buddy?" Jack asked, noticing Leo's distracted demeanor. "Just life, you know," Leo replied, trying to play it off. Mia shot him a knowing look, but before she could say anything, Ethan chimed in with a light-hearted comment about trying the local seafood. Laughter erupted around the table, and Leo found himself momentarily lost in the moment, the camaraderie easing his anxiety. As the afternoon rolled in, Leo excused himself to take a phone call from Fiona. He stepped away from the table, heart pounding, and found a quiet spot under a palm tree. He took a moment to steady himself before dialing her number. The phone rang twice before she answered, her voice a mix of relief and hesitation. "Leo?" Fiona said softly. "Hey," he replied, trying to keep his tone neutral. "So you wanted to talk?" "Yes, I do. I've been thinking about everything, and I need to explain." Leo felt a rush of emotions. "I'm listening," he said, trying to sound more composed than he felt. Fiona took a deep breath, and Leo could almost hear the weight of the past hanging in the air between them. "I know I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake, and I've had a lot of time to reflect on what happened. Leo remained silent, allowing her to continue. He needed to hear her out, but he was also bracing himself for the emotional impact of her words. I've changed, Leo, she said. I know that's hard to believe, but I want to make things right. I miss you. I miss us. In that moment, the world around him faded, leaving just her voice echoing in his ears. He felt a surge of conflicting emotions, hurt, anger, longing. Fiona, it's not that simple, he replied, his voice steady but firm. You broke my trust. It's going to take more than just words to fix that. I understand, she said, her voice breaking slightly. But I hope you can at least give me a chance to explain. Can we meet, please? Leo hesitated, his heart racing. He looked back toward the cafe where his friends were waiting, their laughter a reminder of how far he had come. I'll think about it, he finally said. Thank you, Fiona replied, her voice tinged with hope. As he hung up, Leo felt a whirlwind of emotions within him. He knew he had to face the past, but he also recognized that he had grown stronger. Whatever the outcome, he was ready to confront the truth. With a deep breath, he returned to his friends, knowing that whatever decision he made next would shape the path ahead. The days that followed Leo's conversation with Fiona were a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. He couldn't shake off the feeling of dread that loomed over him. Yet, there was also a flicker of hope. With each passing hour, he pondered over the potential meeting. Would he really find closure, or would it only reignite the painful memories he had tried to bury? As the weekend approached, Leo made a decision. He would meet Fiona. He told himself it was for the sake of closure, but deep down, he knew part of him still longed for the connection they once shared. On the day of their meeting, Leo felt an unsettling mixture of excitement and fear. He chose a cafe in the heart of the city, somewhere neutral, with a bustling ambiance that would make the conversation less daunting. It was a place they had visited together before, a bittersweet reminder of happier times. Arriving early, he found a spot on the terrace overlooking the park. The sun was shining brightly, and people were strolling by, lost in their own worlds. Leo fidgeted with his phone, glancing at the time repeatedly. He felt like a pendulum, swinging between the past and the present, unsure of what to expect. Finally, he saw her walking toward him, and his heart skipped a beat. Fiona looked different, more mature perhaps, but there was still a spark of the girl he once loved. She wore a simple, white sundress that danced lightly with the breeze, her hair flowing freely around her shoulders. As she approached, Leo stood up, unsure whether to smile or remain guarded. Fiona's eyes locked onto his, a mix of nervousness and determination shimmering in her gaze. Hey, Leo, she said softly, her voice laced with nostalgia. Hey, he replied, forcing a smile that felt foreign. They settled into their seats, an awkward silence enveloping them as they both ordered drinks. After a moment, Fiona broke the silence. I'm really glad we could meet. Me too, Leo said, though he felt anything but glad. So what did you want to talk about? Fiona took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. I've thought about this moment for a long time. I know I hurt you, and I've regretted it every single day. I was lost, Leo. I didn't know how to handle everything. I should have been honest with you instead of pushing you away. Leo's heart raced. He could feel the weight of her words, but part of him remained skeptical. Honesty would have been a good start, he replied, his tone measured but firm. But it's hard to forget what happened. I know, and I don't expect you to forgive me right away, she said quickly. I just want you to know that I've changed. I've been working on myself and trying to understand my mistakes. I'm not the same person I was back then. Then who are you now? Leo asked, his curiosity piqued despite the emotional turmoil. I'm someone who's learning to be better, she said earnestly. I've gone to therapy, and I've been trying to rebuild my life. I realize now that I took you for granted, and I was selfish. Leo studied her, searching for any hint of insincerity, but all he saw was vulnerability. You've had a lot of time to think, he said, trying to keep his tone even. But what if I'm not ready to trust you again? I don't want to rush anything, Fiona replied, her voice steady. I'm not asking for us to jump back into a relationship. I just want the chance to show you that I've changed. I want to rebuild our friendship, even if that takes time. Leo felt a flicker of hope. Friendship? Was that truly possible after everything they had been through? He remembered the way their laughter had once filled every room, the deep conversations that had made him feel alive. "But how do I know it's real?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "How can I be sure this isn't just a phase for you?" Fiona reached for his hand, her touch gentle, yet electrifying. "You don't have to trust me right away. Just give me a chance to prove myself. I want to make it right, Leo. I want to show you that I'm here for the long haul." The sincerity in her eyes caught him off guard. For the first time since their breakup, Leo felt a sense of understanding washing over him. Maybe it was time to allow himself the possibility of healing. "Okay," he said cautiously. "But it's not going to be easy for me. I still have a lot of feelings to sort through." "Then let's take it slow," Fiona suggested, her smile returning. "No pressure, just let's see where this goes." As they talked, Leo felt the tension begin to ease. He found himself sharing stories, reminiscing about the good times, and even laughing at old memories. The conversation flowed more easily than he expected, and with each passing moment, he began to realize that perhaps there was a path forward after all. The afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the cafe. Leo glanced at Fiona, who was animatedly recounting a funny incident from their past. He could see the changes in her, the growth and the earnestness in her eyes. And for the first time in a long while, he felt a glimmer of hope, a tentative step toward forgiveness, not just for Fiona, but for himself too. "Can we do this again?" Fiona asked, her voice softening. "Yeah, I'd like that," Leo replied, a genuine smile breaking across his face. As they finished their drinks, Leo felt lighter, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. While the journey ahead would undoubtedly be challenging, he was ready to embrace it. After all, the past was only a part of who he was. The future held infinite possibilities. The weeks rolled on after that pivotal meeting, and Leo and Fiona began to carve out a new rhythm in their relationship. They decided to meet once a week, starting with simple coffee dates and gradually exploring more shared activities. Each encounter was a careful negotiation between nostalgia and the need for progress, as they tiptoed around the jagged edges of their shared history. Fiona often shared stories about her therapy sessions, her ongoing journey of self-discovery, and the tools she was learning to manage her emotions. Leo listened intently, fascinated by the vulnerability she was willing to show. In turn, he found himself opening up about his own struggles, the void her absence had left, his journey of healing, and how he had poured himself into work to fill the gaps. One sunny Saturday afternoon, they decided to take a walk in the park where they had once spent countless hours, laughing and dreaming about their future. The vibrant colors of autumn painted the trees in hues of orange and gold, a stark contrast to the gray days Leo had experienced during their separation. As they strolled along the winding paths, Fiona paused to admire a tree draped in brilliant leaves. "Do you remember when we used to climb trees as kids?" she asked, her eyes sparkling with reminiscence. Leo chuckled, recalling the playful adventures of their youth. "You were always the brave one, climbing higher while I held back, terrified of falling." Fiona laughed, nudging him playfully. "You were just cautious. There's nothing wrong with that." "Caution has its merits," Leo replied, a hint of seriousness in his tone. "But I think I've learned that sometimes you need to take risks to grow." Her expression shifted, a hint of understanding passing between them. "Exactly. That's what I'm trying to do now. Take risks, be honest, and face the things I've avoided for too long." As they reached a small clearing, they spotted a group of children playing with a colorful kite. The sight stirred something deep within Leo, an echo of the carefree joy they had once shared. "It's nice to see people enjoying life," he remarked, watching the kite dance against the blue sky. Fiona nodded, her gaze softening. "Yeah, it's a reminder that life is meant to be lived, not just survived." They sat on a nearby bench, the sounds of laughter surrounding them, and Leo felt an urge to dive deeper into the conversation. "Fiona, I have to ask, what made you decide to reach out to me after all this time?" Her eyes met his, serious and unwavering. "I realized that I never truly let you go. The guilt of how I treated you weighed on me. I thought distancing myself was the right thing, but it only pushed me deeper into isolation. I wanted to be better, for myself and for you." Leo's heart swelled at her honesty. Yet a flicker of doubt lingered. But can I trust that you won't just vanish again when things get tough? I can't promise it'll be easy, Fiona replied earnestly, but I can promise that I'm committed to working through my issues. I want to be someone you can count on. He took a deep breath, letting her words settle. Trust isn't built overnight, but I appreciate your willingness to try. As they sat together in the fading light, Leo felt a shift in their dynamic. It was as if the walls between them were slowly crumbling, revealing a path that led toward reconciliation. He was beginning to see Fiona not just as the girl who had hurt him, but as a person striving for growth, just like him. The following week, they decided to try something new. Leo suggested a pottery class at a local studio, an activity they had both talked about doing but had never gotten around to. Fiona's face lit up with enthusiasm. "I've always wanted to try that," she exclaimed, her excitement contagious. On the day of the class, they entered the cozy studio, filled with the scent of clay and the sound of laughter. They were greeted by the instructor, a friendly woman with an infectious smile who explained the basics of pottery. Leo felt a rush of nerves mixed with exhilaration as they approached their wheels. As they worked, their hands covered in clay, they joked and laughed, the tension between them melting away with every spin of the wheel. Fiona's creativity flowed, and Leo was captivated by her ability to mold the clay into beautiful shapes, a reflection of her spirit. "Look at this," Fiona exclaimed, holding up her lopsided bowl, giggling at its imperfections. "It's not perfect, but I kind of love it." Leo grinned, admiring her perspective. "It's a masterpiece in its own right," he said, taking a moment to appreciate how far they had come. With each rotation of the wheel, he felt more connected to her, as if they were sculpting not only clay, but also the framework of their renewed relationship. They shared stories about their hopes, dreams, and fears, unearthing layers of themselves they hadn't dared to explore in years. Later, as they cleaned up, Leo looked at Fiona, his heart pounding. "I think I'm starting to see you in a different light," he admitted, vulnerability creeping into his voice. "I don't want to rush things, but I also don't want to deny the connection we're rebuilding." Fiona paused, meeting his gaze with sincerity. "I feel the same way, Leo. I want to be here for you, and I want to earn your trust back." As they left the studio, the evening air was crisp, and the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the horizon. Leo couldn't help but feel that they were on the brink of something new, something that held the potential for healing, growth, and perhaps even love. As they walked side by side, an unspoken agreement lingered in the air between them. They would take it one step at a time, together. And for the first time in a long while, Leo felt a sense of peace wash over him. The following weeks unfolded in a delicate dance of discovery and emotional growth for Leo and Fiona. Their pottery classes became a cherished ritual, a safe space where they could express themselves creatively while gradually peeling back the layers of their past. Each session was filled with laughter, clay-covered hands, and moments of shared vulnerability, reminding them both of the connection they had once taken for granted. One evening, as they sat at the studio, Fiona focused intently on shaping her latest creation. The light above them cast a warm glow on her features, accentuating the concentration etched across her brow. Leo watched her for a moment, admiring her determination, when an idea struck him. "Fiona," he began, a hint of hesitation in his voice, "can we talk about the elephant in the room?" She paused, her hands stilling in the clay. "What do you mean?" "About why we broke up in the first place. I think we need to confront those old fears if we want to move forward." Fiona's expression shifted, a mix of apprehension and resolve crossing her face. "I agree, but it's difficult. Those memories still sting." "Trust me, I get it," Leo said, leaning forward slightly. "But I think it's important. We can't just pretend those things don't exist." After a moment's hesitation, Fiona nodded. "Okay, let's do it, but promise me we'll keep this conversation honest no matter how uncomfortable it gets." "Promise," he replied, feeling a rush of determination. They set their tools aside and settled onto the wooden benches, the ambience of the studio fading into the background. Leo took a deep breath, steadying himself. "So, let's start with what happened when you left. I think I need to hear it from you." Fiona's eyes glistened with unshed tears as she recalled the weight of that moment. I thought I was doing the right thing by pushing you away. I was struggling with my mental health, and I didn't want to drag you down with me. I thought if I disappeared, you'd be free to find someone better. Better? Leo interrupted, his voice filled with disbelief. You don't get to decide what I want. I loved you, Fiona. You weren't a burden. You were my partner. I know, she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. But I was so consumed by my own darkness that I couldn't see how much I was hurting you. I thought I was saving you from my chaos, but all I did was create more. Leo ran a hand through his hair, frustration bubbling up. But why didn't you tell me? I would have fought for you. I would have done anything to help you through that. Fiona bit her lip, the tears spilling down her cheeks. I was scared. I was scared of being a burden and scared of letting you down. I convinced myself that pushing you away was the answer. Leo felt a pang of sorrow for her, understanding how deeply her insecurities had affected them both. I can see that now, but it doesn't change how it felt at the time. I lost my best friend, and I felt so helpless. Fiona nodded, her gaze dropping to her hands. I can't take back the pain I caused you, Leo. I've carried that guilt with me for so long. I just want you to know that I regret it every single day. Regret is a powerful thing, he replied softly, a sense of empathy washing over him. But it doesn't have to define us anymore. We can move forward. A glimmer of hope sparked in Fiona's eyes. Do you really think we can, after everything? I do, he said firmly. But it requires honesty. We need to confront our fears together. Fiona took a deep breath, her eyes meeting his. What are you most afraid of? Leo paused, the question hanging in the air. I'm afraid of trusting again, of opening myself up only to be hurt. I've built these walls to protect myself, but now I'm starting to wonder if they're keeping the wrong things out. Fiona leaned in closer, her voice barely above a whisper. I'm afraid of failing again, of losing you a second time. What if I slip back into my old patterns? What if I can't be the person you deserve? I think we need to focus on being the best versions of ourselves together, Leo replied, his heart pounding. It's a process, and it's okay to stumble along the way, but we have to communicate. As they spoke, Leo felt a palpable shift in the room. The air crackled with an unspoken promise of understanding and commitment. They were both aware of the fragility of this moment. Yet it felt liberating to finally air out their fears. Do you want to try and face these fears together? Leo asked, his eyes locked onto hers, searching for sincerity. I do, Fiona said, a newfound determination illuminating her features. I want to rebuild what we had, but this time with honesty and openness. Their hearts raced as they sat in that small pottery studio, the world outside fading into insignificance. This was their moment of truth. A crossroads where they could choose to either fall back into old patterns or forge a new path. With a tentative smile, Leo took her hand, their fingers intertwining as they solidified their commitment to each other. Let's do this, Fiona, one step at a time. Fiona smiled back, the warmth of his touch igniting something deep within her. One step at a time. As they resumed their pottery, the clay spinning between their hands felt different now, more alive, more meaningful. It was a symbol of their journey together, a testament to the trust they were beginning to build. They were no longer defined by their past. They were creating something new, one careful turn of the wheel at a time. In the weeks that followed, Leo and Fiona continued to nurture their bond through the pottery classes. Each session brought them closer, allowing their laughter to replace the heaviness of their past. The pottery studio became a sanctuary, a place where they could shape not only clay, but also the raw emotions that had once threatened to pull them apart. One sunny Saturday afternoon, they decided to participate in a local art fair, showcasing their pottery. The vibrant atmosphere buzzed with excitement as artisans displayed their crafts and food vendors filled the air with delicious aromas. Leo and Fiona set up a small booth, adorning it with their unique pieces, each telling a story of resilience and newfound hope. As they arranged their work, Fiona felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with a hint of nervousness. What if nobody likes our stuff? She said, her voice laced with anxiety. Leo chuckled. That's not the point, is it? We're here to share our journey and connect with others. Plus, I think our pieces are amazing. He held up a beautifully crafted vase, its swirling patterns reflecting the chaos of their emotions. Fiona smiled, a spark of confidence igniting within her. You're right. Let's just enjoy the day. As the fair unfolded, the couple engaged with visitors, sharing stories about their pottery and the healing process behind each creation. They basked in the joy of their art, their laughter echoing amidst the clamor of the fair. For a moment, the past felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the warmth of their present connection. Just as Fiona was beginning to feel completely at ease, a familiar voice pierced through the crowd. Well, if it isn't Leo and Fiona. They both turned to see Clara, Leo's ex-girlfriend, approaching with a wide smile. Clara had always been charming, with her confident demeanor and sparkling personality, but Fiona felt her heart sink as she recognized the potential tension looming over the reunion. Clara, Leo exclaimed, stepping forward to give her a quick hug. It's been a while. Too long, Clara replied, her gaze shifting between Leo and Fiona. I heard you two were back in town and even found yourselves a creative outlet. Your pieces look fantastic. It's so good to see you both. Fiona forced a smile, acutely aware of the tightness in her chest. Clara's presence was a reminder of a time when Leo had been someone else's partner, and she couldn't shake the feeling of inadequacy that flickered within her. Thanks, Leo replied, his tone light. We've been working hard on our pottery. Clara's eyes sparkled with genuine interest as she glanced around their booth. You've really outdone yourselves. I can't wait to see where this takes you. Are you planning to showcase at more fairs? Fiona's mind raced. How was she supposed to act in front of Clara? Leo had made it clear that their past was behind them, but Clara was a living reminder of the life he once led. Yes, we hope to, Fiona interjected, her voice slightly more confident than she felt. We're enjoying the process and the connection it brings. Connection is key, Clara said, her smile brightening. I'm so happy for you both. You look great together. Fiona caught a glimpse of Leo, who was smiling, but she noticed the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Was he just being polite, or was there something more behind that smile? Clara's presence seemed to shift the atmosphere, and Fiona couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was testing their newfound commitment. Thanks, Clara, Leo said, a hint of awkwardness creeping into his voice. How have you been? Oh, busy with work and life, Clara replied casually, her tone light as she waved her hand dismissively. But I've been thinking a lot about the past, especially about how things ended between us. Fiona felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she watched Clara's eyes flicker over to her. Leo and I have been working through some of our old fears, she said, surprising herself with her sudden boldness. It's a journey, but we're making progress. Clara raised an eyebrow, her expression shifting to one of curiosity. That's really impressive. It takes a lot of courage to face those things head on. Yeah, it does, Leo added, his tone supportive. It's not easy, but I believe it's worth it. Fiona caught a glimpse of Clara's expression softening, and the tension began to ease. Maybe this wasn't going to be as difficult as she thought. I'm glad to hear that, Clara said sincerely. You both deserve happiness. I hope you find it together. The unexpected warmth in Clara's words caught Fiona off guard. As the three of them stood there, an unspoken understanding seemed to weave its way between them. Perhaps Clara had grown too, and the past didn't need to dictate the present. Just then, a group of festival-goers approached their booth, drawn in by the colorful display. Clara seized the moment, turning her attention to the newcomers. I'll let you get back to it. I just wanted to say it's great to see you both again. Good luck with everything. As Clara walked away, Fiona felt a mixture of relief and confusion. That went better than I expected, she said, looking at Leo. Yeah, it did, Leo replied, his gaze lingering on Clara as she moved through the crowd. I wasn't sure how she'd react, but I think we all needed that. Fiona nodded, but uncertainty still nagged at her. Do you think she still has feelings for you? Leo shook his head, his expression serious. I don't know. I hope not. But I'm here with you now, and that's what matters. Fiona swallowed hard, realizing that the shadow of Clara's presence might linger longer than she anticipated. But as she watched Leo, the sincerity in his eyes reassured her that they were on the right path. Let's focus on us, Fiona said, a sense of determination blooming within her. We've come too far to let the past overshadow our future. Agreed, Leo said, a proud smile lighting up his face. Let's keep creating and facing things together. As they turned their attention back to the fair, Fiona felt a renewed sense of hope. The unexpected reunion had reminded her that they were building something beautiful, not just in pottery, but in their relationship as well. Together, they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, one step at a time. As the weeks turned into months, Fiona and Leo continued to cultivate their shared passion for pottery, pouring their hearts into each creation. The studio became more than just a place to craft. It evolved into a canvas for their dreams, hopes, and fears. Their connection deepened, blossoming into a partnership that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. One chilly morning, as autumn leaves danced outside their window, Leo surprised Fiona with a cozy breakfast. He had prepared fluffy pancakes topped with fresh berries and a steaming cup of coffee. "Good morning, beautiful," he said, placing the plate in front of her. Fiona's heart swelled with warmth. "You didn't have to do this." "I wanted to," he replied with a smile. "We've been working hard, and I thought a little treat would start the day off right." As they ate, they talked about their dreams for the future. Fiona shared her aspiration to open a pottery studio where they could teach others the therapeutic benefits of art. Leo listened intently, his eyes brightening with excitement. "That sounds amazing. We could host workshops, community events. It would be a great way to connect with people." Fiona felt her excitement bubble over, and we could collaborate with local artists to showcase their work. Imagine the vibrant community we could build. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, the energy between them electric. But beneath the surface of this joy lay an undercurrent of anxiety that Fiona couldn't shake. Each day brought a new layer of vulnerability, and while she cherished their relationship, she couldn't help but wonder how long it would last. After breakfast, they decided to head to the studio to work on a new project. Leo had come up with the idea of creating a mural that represented their journey, a visual narrative that reflected their struggles, triumphs, and the love they had discovered in one another. As they gathered their supplies, Fiona felt a twinge of apprehension. What if we're not good enough? What if it doesn't turn out the way we envision? "Hey," Leo said, placing his hands on her shoulders and looking deeply into her eyes. "This isn't about perfection. It's about expression. Whatever we create will be a piece of us, and that's what matters." Fiona took a deep breath, nodding slowly. Leo's unwavering support bolstered her confidence, but the lingering doubt remained, whispering that their happiness might be fleeting. They arrived at the studio where the scent of clay and paint filled the air, mingling with the warmth of creativity. They rolled up their sleeves and got to work, sketching out ideas on a large canvas. As they painted, Fiona found herself getting lost in the flow of colors and shapes, each stroke echoing the story they had crafted together. Hours passed and the mural began to take shape, a vibrant explosion of color that captured their journey from uncertainty to love. But as the mural unfolded, Fiona felt an unshakable anxiety creeping in again. The vulnerability of expressing their emotions through art made her feel exposed. "Leo," she said hesitantly, "do you ever think about what happens if things go wrong between us? Like, what if we fall apart?" Leo paused, the brush hovering above the canvas. He turned to her, his expression serious. "Of course, I think about it. But I also believe that we're stronger together. We've faced so much already. If we keep communicating and supporting each other, we can get through anything." His words were soothing, but Fiona's mind raced with images of past failures and heartbreaks. But what if it's not enough? What if we don't make it? Leo stepped closer, his voice gentle but firm. "Fiona, every relationship carries risk, but we have to trust ourselves and each other. I'm not going anywhere. We're in this together, remember?" She nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. His reassurance was a balm, but deep down, the fear of losing what they had built lingered. Just then, a familiar voice broke through her thoughts. "Hey, you two?" It was Clara again, her bright smile illuminating the studio. "I just happened to be passing by and couldn't resist checking out your mural. It looks amazing." Fiona felt her heart race as Clara stepped closer, inspecting their work. "You really captured something special here. It's full of life." "Thanks, Clara," Leo said, stepping back to let her take a closer look. "We've been pouring our hearts into it." Fiona watched Clara's expression shift, and for a moment she could sense the tension in the air. I'm glad to see you both doing well, Clara continued, her tone genuine. I know things were complicated before. Fiona felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she faced Clara. Yeah, they were. I just wanted to say that I'm happy for you two. It seems like you're building something beautiful, Clara said, glancing between them. I hope you know that it's okay to be scared. Love is a journey, and there will always be ups and downs. Fiona hesitated, surprised by Clara's words. Thank you, she replied slowly. That means a lot. Clara smiled, her warmth easing the tension in the room. Just remember to keep talking. Communication is key. I learned that the hard way. As Clara walked away, Fiona exchanged a glance with Leo. What just happened? She asked, bewildered. I think she genuinely wants the best for us, Leo replied, a hint of surprise in his voice. Maybe she's grown too. Fiona nodded, a sense of relief washing over her. Perhaps this unexpected encounter had reminded her that the past didn't need to define their future. As they returned to their mural, Fiona felt a renewed sense of determination. The fears and doubts still lingered, but she was ready to embrace the journey ahead, to navigate the waters of love and vulnerability. Together, they could create something beautiful, one brushstroke at a time. As the days passed, Fiona and Leo dedicated themselves to their mural, spending every available moment in the studio. The colors they chose felt like an extension of their emotions, swirling together in vibrant hues that mirrored their journey. With each brushstroke, Fiona felt her anxieties begin to dissipate, replaced by a sense of purpose and unity. However, beneath the surface of their creative endeavor, a tension began to build. While Fiona thrived on the emotional connection they shared through their art, Leo seemed increasingly distant. He would often lose himself in thought, staring at their mural as if searching for something just out of reach. One afternoon, as they worked side by side, Fiona noticed Leo's furrowed brow. She set down her brush, stepping closer. Leo, are you okay? You seem distracted. He turned to her, a mixture of frustration and vulnerability in his eyes. It's just, sometimes I feel overwhelmed. I want this mural to be perfect, to really capture what we've been through, but I keep second-guessing myself. Fiona's heart sank. She understood the weight of expectation all too well. I get it, but remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about our story, our journey together. He nodded but didn't seem convinced. I know, but I can't shake the feeling that I'm not enough. What if people don't see what we're trying to convey? What if we fail? Fiona took a step closer, her hands gently grasping his. Leo, listen to me. The beauty of art is that it's subjective. Not everyone will interpret it the way we intend, and that's okay. What matters is that we're expressing ourselves honestly. He looked into her eyes, searching for reassurance. I appreciate that, Fiona, but I can't help but worry. I don't want to let you down. Hey, she said softly, you could never let me down. We're in this together. If you're feeling uncertain, let's talk about it. We can work through it as a team. Leo took a deep breath, his expression softening. You're right. I just need to be honest about how I'm feeling. I don't want to keep anything bottled up. They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air. Fiona could feel the vulnerability radiating from him, and she knew this was a crucial moment for both of them. Let's take a break, she suggested, stepping away from the mural. We've been at it for hours. How about we grab some coffee and talk? Leo nodded, a small smile breaking through the tension. That sounds great. As they strolled to their favorite cafe, the crisp autumn air wrapped around them like a warm embrace. They found a cozy corner table, and as they sipped their drinks, Fiona could sense the tension easing between them. Thanks for listening, Leo said, looking into her eyes. I think I've been so focused on the mural that I forgot to check in with myself. I guess I just needed to voice my insecurities. Everyone has doubts, Leo, Fiona replied, her voice soothing. It's normal. What matters is how we respond to those doubts. We can either let them control us or use them as fuel to grow. He nodded, contemplating her words. You make it sound so easy. It's not always easy, she admitted. I struggle with my own fears too. I worry about what the future holds for us, about whether this is sustainable. But I'm learning to embrace those fears instead of letting them dictate my actions. The conversation flowed naturally, touching on their dreams, insecurities, and hopes for the future. They talked about their shared vision of opening a pottery studio, about the community they wanted to create, and the people they wanted to inspire. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow through the cafe windows, Fiona felt a renewed sense of connection with Leo. Their vulnerabilities had become a bridge, strengthening their bond in ways she hadn't expected. "Let's make a pact," she suggested, leaning forward. "No more holding back. We promise to communicate openly about how we feel, no matter how uncomfortable it may be." "Deal," Leo said, a sense of relief washing over him. "I think that's exactly what we need." When they returned to the studio, they approached the mural with fresh eyes and open hearts. Fiona felt a surge of energy as they worked side by side, the colors dancing across the canvas like the vibrant threads of their intertwined lives. As they painted, Fiona noticed that Leo's confidence began to bloom. With each stroke, he seemed more at ease, pouring his heart into the mural without fear of judgment. They laughed, joked, and even danced a little as they brought their vision to life. When the day finally drew to a close, they stood back to admire their work. The mural was a tapestry of colors and emotions, telling the story of their journey with raw honesty and vulnerability. It felt alive, pulsating with energy and hope. "Look at what we've created," Fiona said, her voice filled with awe. "It's beautiful." Leo smiled, pride shining in his eyes. "We did this together, and it feels right." But just as Fiona was about to respond, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She pulled it out, her heart sinking as she read the notification. It was a message from her mother, the familiar dread creeping back into her chest. "Fiona, we need to talk. It's important." A knot formed in her stomach and she glanced at Leo, who was now watching her intently. "What's wrong?" he asked, concern etching his features. I think I need to deal with something at home," she said, her voice shaky. "My mom wants to talk, and it feels urgent." Leo's expression shifted from concern to understanding. "Do you want me to go with you?" Fiona hesitated, torn between the comfort of Leo's presence and the weight of her family dynamics. "I appreciate it, but I think this is something I need to handle on my own." "Just know that I'm here for you, no matter what," he said, stepping closer and taking her hands in his. "You're not alone in this." With that, Fiona felt a wave of reassurance wash over her. No matter what awaited her at home, she knew she had Leo by her side, a steadfast anchor amid the storms of uncertainty. As she headed out of the studio, she took a deep breath, steeling herself for the conversation ahead. She had no idea what her mother wanted to discuss, but she was determined to face it with the same courage she had summoned while painting their mural. With Leo's words echoing in her mind, she felt ready to navigate these new waters, no matter how turbulent they might be. The drive home felt longer than usual, each passing streetlight casting fleeting shadows on Fiona's anxious thoughts. She replayed her mother's message over and over in her mind, trying to decipher its meaning. Was it about her art? Did her mother disapprove of her choices? Or was it something deeper, a wound that had long since healed, but was now threatening to reopen? As she pulled into the driveway, Fiona took a moment to collect herself. The familiar sight of her childhood home loomed ahead, its brick facade a blend of warmth and tension. Memories flooded back. Laughter shared over family dinners, arguments echoing through the halls, and the constant push and pull of love and frustration that defined her relationship with her mother. Stepping out of the car, she could feel the weight of her apprehensions settle heavily on her shoulders. She took a deep breath, reminding herself of her pact with Leo, no more holding back. She needed to approach this conversation with honesty and strength. Entering the house, she was greeted by the warm scent of freshly baked cookies, a familiar comfort that momentarily eased her nerves. As she walked into the living room, her mother sat on the couch, her expression mixed of concern and anticipation. The tension in the air was palpable, and Fiona felt a knot tighten in her stomach. "Fiona, I'm glad you're here," her mother said, her voice softening. "We need to talk." Fiona nodded, taking a seat across from her. "I got your message. What's going on?" Her mother took a deep breath, her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. "It's about your father." The mention of her father sent a ripple of unease through Fiona. Their relationship had always been complicated, and she hadn't seen him in years. What about him? He's back in town. He called me earlier today, her mother said, her voice trembling slightly. He wants to see you. Fiona's heart raced, a whirlwind of emotions crashing over her. Why now? After all this time? I don't know, her mother admitted, her gaze falling to the floor. He just said he's been thinking a lot about you and wants to make amends. I thought you should have the chance to decide for yourself. Decide? Fiona echoed, incredulity lacing her tone. After abandoning us for years, he just thinks he can waltz back in and everything will be fine? I understand how you feel, but he's changed. At least, that's what he claims. He wants to explain himself, to apologize. I thought you might want to hear him out. Fiona leaned back, her thoughts racing. Could she really face her father after everything he had put their family through? The pain of his absence still stung, a reminder of all the missed milestones and the hollow spaces he had left behind. I don't know if I can do that, Mom, she said, her voice shaking. What if it's just another empty promise? I don't want to get my hopes up. Her mother's eyes glistened with unshed tears. I know it's a lot to ask, and I don't want to pressure you, but I also don't want you to regret not giving him a chance to explain. Fiona felt torn between her desire to protect herself and the faint flicker of hope that perhaps reconciliation was possible. What if I end up hurt again? She whispered, feeling vulnerable. Then we'll face it together. Her mother said, reaching out to take Fiona's hand. You're stronger than you realize, and no matter what happens, I'll be right here with you. Fiona looked into her mother's eyes, seeing the love and support that had always been there, even amidst their differences. Taking a deep breath, she realized that this was more than just about her father. It was about healing wounds that had festered for too long. Okay, Fiona said, her voice steadying. I'll meet him. But only if you're with me. Her mother nodded, relief washing over her features. Of course, we'll do it together. Just take your time to think about what you want to say. As the evening unfolded, they talked about their shared experiences, the challenges they faced, and the journey ahead. Fiona felt a sense of empowerment rising within her, fueled by her mother's unwavering support. Perhaps this confrontation with her father could bring closure, not just for herself, but for her entire family. Later that night, as Fiona lay in bed, she couldn't shake the anxiety that bubbled beneath the surface. Her mind drifted to Leo, his encouraging words resonating within her. No matter how daunting the situation with her father seemed, she had the strength to face it. In the days that followed, Fiona found herself oscillating between dread and determination. She communicated her feelings with Leo, who listened patiently and encouraged her to embrace her emotions rather than suppress them. They spent evenings painting together, channeling their worries into vibrant strokes on the mural, which continued to grow and evolve, much like their relationship. But Fiona was also conscious of the growing distance between her and Leo as she prepared for the impending confrontation. His enthusiasm for the mural seemed tempered by concern for her emotional state. She knew she needed to find a balance between her familial obligations and her commitment to their artistic endeavor. Finally, the day arrived. Fiona stood in front of the mirror, nervously adjusting her hair and clothes. "You've got this," she whispered to herself, repeating the mantra that had become a source of strength in her mind. With her mother's hand firmly in hers, they headed to the cafe where her father had requested to meet. As they approached the cafe, Fiona's heart raced, her pulse quickening in anticipation of what lay ahead. Would he truly have changed? Or was she walking into a web of old disappointments and broken promises? The cafe was bustling with life, the aroma of coffee and pastries enveloping them as they stepped inside. Fiona spotted her father sitting at a corner table, his back turned to them. He looked older, warier, but there was an undeniable hint of vulnerability in his posture. "Are you ready?" her mother asked gently, squeezing Fiona's hand for reassurance. Fiona took a deep breath, steeling herself for the moment. "Let's do this." They walked toward the table, Fiona's heart pounding with each step. As her father turned to face them, their eyes locked, and in that instant, Fiona felt a surge of emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion, but also a flicker of hope. She was about to confront the ghosts of her past, and she was ready to face whatever came next. Fiona's heart raced as she approached the table, her breath hitching in her throat. Her father sat there, looking older than she remembered, with a mix of nervousness and apprehension etched on his face. He had once been a towering figure in her life, but now he seemed smaller, almost diminished by the years that had passed. "Fiona," he began, his voice hesitant. It's been a long time." Her mother tightened her grip on Fiona's hand, a silent reminder of their pact. Fiona nodded but didn't respond, her emotions swirling inside her like a tempest. There were so many things she wanted to say, but words felt inadequate in that moment. "I understand if you're angry," he continued, his gaze falling to the table. "I've made a lot of mistakes, more than I can count. I've thought about you every day, and I'm so sorry for the hurt I caused." "Sorry?" Fiona echoed, her voice stronger than she felt. "Sorry doesn't erase the years you were absent. It doesn't change the pain you caused Mom and me." Her father looked up, his eyes filled with regret. "I know, I don't expect forgiveness right away. I want a chance to explain myself, to show you that I've changed." Fiona crossed her arms, feeling defensive. "Changed how? By showing up after all this time? You can't just drop into my life and expect me to believe you've had some epiphany." Her father sighed, running a hand through his thinning hair. "You're right. I don't deserve to be forgiven just because I want it. But I've been working on myself, going to therapy, trying to understand why I made the choices I did. I've realized that I can't change the past, but I want to be a part of your future if you'll let me." Fiona's emotions swirled in a dizzying array of confusion and anger. "What do you mean by wanting to be a part of my future? You think you can just step back into my life like nothing happened?" "I don't expect to waltz back in," he said, his voice tinged with desperation. "I want to earn your trust. I want to be the father you deserved all those years. I understand if you need time, but I'm here now, and I want to try." Fiona glanced at her mother, who offered an encouraging nod. It was a small gesture, but it fueled Fiona's resolve. "You say you want to earn my trust, but how can I trust you? You abandoned us when we needed you most. I don't know if I can believe anything you say." Her father's expression shifted, a flicker of pain crossing his features. "I know I don't have a leg to stand on, and I understand your skepticism. But I'm not here to make excuses. I just want the opportunity to be honest with you, to show you that I'm different now." Fiona took a deep breath, the words she had rehearsed in her mind swirling around. "Then tell me why you left. I need to understand. Was it something about us? Something we did?" Her father's eyes filled with sorrow. "No, it wasn't you. It was me. I was lost, overwhelmed by my own insecurities and fears. I thought leaving would make things easier for everyone, but it only made everything worse. I see that now, and I regret every moment I missed." Fiona felt the weight of his admission settle over her like a blanket. It wasn't the answer she had expected, but it resonated within her, striking a chord of empathy she hadn't anticipated. "Did you ever try to reach out, to see how we were doing?" "I did, but I was too ashamed to face you. I thought I'd be better off staying away. I was wrong," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And I'm sorry for that. I can't take back the past, but I want to be here for you now." Tears pricked at Fiona's eyes, and she struggled to contain them. The hurt was still fresh, but the vulnerability in her father's words tugged at her heart. "What if I can't forgive you? What if I can't just forget everything? Then we'll take it one step at a time. I'll be patient," he said earnestly. "I want to prove that I can be a better father, a better person. But I can't do that without you. I'll respect your boundaries, no matter how long it takes." Fiona looked away, grappling with her emotions. It was all too much to process, and she felt as though the ground beneath her was shifting. But for the first time, she recognized a glimmer of hope amidst the pain. Perhaps healing was possible, even if it felt like an uphill battle. "What do you want from me?" she asked quietly, her voice trembling. "I want to know you, Fiona. I want to learn about your life, your passions, and your dreams. I want to be a part of them, even if it's just as a friend to start. But I'll leave that up to you. I just want the chance," he replied, sincerity ringing in his voice. After a long pause, Fiona finally met his gaze. "If I agree to this, it doesn't mean I'm ready to forgive you. I need time to process everything. I don't want to feel pressured into anything." "Of course," he said, relief washing over his features. No pressure. Just take your time. I'm here for you whenever you're ready. Fiona felt the tension in her shoulders begin to ease, just slightly. The conversation had opened a door she thought was firmly shut, and while she wasn't ready to walk through it just yet, she could feel a shift occurring within her. As they continued to talk, Fiona began to understand the complexities of her father's emotions, the weight of regret that had burdened him for so long. It was a journey she had never expected to embark on, but perhaps it was a necessary one. Eventually, as they concluded their meeting, Fiona felt a mix of exhaustion and relief. She knew this was only the beginning, and there would be difficult conversations ahead. But with her mother by her side, and a renewed sense of strength, she felt more capable of facing whatever challenges lay ahead. Walking out of the cafe, Fiona took a deep breath, the fresh air filling her lungs. She could see Leo waiting for her outside, his expression a blend of concern and curiosity. She approached him, and without saying a word, he wrapped his arms around her, grounding her in that moment. "Hey, how did it go?" he asked softly. Fiona pulled back, searching his eyes for understanding. "It was complicated, but I think there's potential for something better. I don't know what it looks like yet, but I'm willing to explore it." Leo smiled, a hint of pride glimmering in his gaze. "That's a huge step. I'm proud of you." As they walked away from the cafe, hand in hand, Fiona felt a sense of hope blooming within her. The journey ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to embrace it. With Leo by her side and a newfound determination to navigate her relationship with her father, she knew she could face whatever came next, one step at a time. Over the next few weeks, Fiona found herself in a delicate balancing act. She was still processing the whirlwind of emotions that came with reconnecting with her father, while also focusing on her responsibilities at university and maintaining her relationship with Leo. Each day brought a new mix of hope and anxiety as she navigated this uncertain territory. Fiona and her father began to meet regularly, their conversations slowly peeling back the layers of pain that had accumulated over the years. He shared stories from his life, moments of joy, regret, and realization that shaped him into the man he was striving to become. Fiona listened, torn between the desire to understand him and the lingering bitterness that clung to her heart. One afternoon, they sat in a small park near the university, surrounded by blooming cherry blossom trees. The gentle breeze carried the sweet scent of flowers, yet Fiona felt heavy with anticipation. Today, they had agreed to discuss a particularly difficult subject, her childhood memories. "Fiona," her father began, his voice steady yet cautious, "I want to hear about your childhood, how it was for you growing up without me." She hesitated, unsure of where to start. The memories were like a box she had locked away, filled with both treasured moments and deep-seated wounds. "It was complicated," she finally replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "I remember the fun times, but I also remember the emptiness. There were nights when I cried myself to sleep, wishing you were there." His expression softened, regret flickering in his eyes. "I can't tell you how sorry I am for that pain. I know it's not enough, but I want you to know I've carried that guilt with me every day." Fiona swallowed hard, her heart aching. "It's not just the absence, it's the silence. You never reached out. It felt like you chose to leave us behind completely." "I thought I was protecting you," he admitted, anguish lining his features. "I thought distance would help you heal from the chaos I created. But I was wrong. I see that now. I should have fought to stay in your life, no matter how hard it was." Fiona nodded, the tension in her chest easing slightly. "I've spent so long resenting you, but now I just don't know how to feel. It's confusing." Her father looked at her intently. "It's okay to be confused. I can't change the past, but I'm here now, and I want to make things right. I want to be a part of your life, but I understand it will take time." "Do you really think we can rebuild this?" Fiona asked, her voice trembling. "Can we really move forward after everything that's happened?" "I believe we can," he replied firmly, "but it will require honesty, patience, and a willingness to face the past together. I'm committed to doing whatever it takes." Fiona looked away, gazing at the cherry blossoms dancing in the wind. The thought of rebuilding a relationship with her father felt daunting, yet there was an undeniable flicker of hope. Perhaps this was the turning point she had been searching for. a chance to heal and grow. As the days passed, Fiona and her father continued to meet, gradually deepening their connection. They shared stories and laughter, but the weight of the past was never far from their conversations. Fiona began to open up about her dreams and aspirations, revealing her passion for art and how it had always been her escape. "Art has always been my refuge," she shared one afternoon. "Whenever I felt lost or alone, I would paint. It's how I express myself, my emotions, my struggles." "I'd love to see your work sometime," he said, genuine interest lighting up his eyes. "You've always had a creative spark. I remember that even when you were little." Fiona smiled softly, surprised by his memory. "I used to create art for you, you know. I hoped it would reach you somehow." His expression turned somber. "I wish I had seen it. I missed so much of your life and I regret every moment." Their conversations gradually shifted from painful memories to dreams for the future. Fiona found herself feeling lighter, encouraged by her father's willingness to listen and engage. But in the back of her mind, doubts still lingered. One evening, she shared a particularly vulnerable thought with Leo as they walked along the riverbank. "I'm scared, Leo. What if he's not really changed? What if I'm just setting myself up for more heartbreak?" Leo stopped and turned to her, concern etched on his face. "Fiona, you're allowed to be cautious. Trust takes time to build, especially after everything you've been through. Just be honest with yourself and him. If he slips up, you'll know where you stand." His words resonated with her, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a sense of clarity. She didn't have to rush this process. She could take her time, allowing herself to feel and heal without the pressure to forgive it immediately. As they continued to explore their relationship, Fiona found solace in her art. One day, she decided to channel her emotions into a piece that reflected her journey: the pain of loss, the complexity of forgiveness, and the hope for reconciliation. The canvas became a mirror of her heart, each brushstroke a step toward healing. When she completed the painting, she felt a surge of catharsis wash over her. The vibrant colors danced across the canvas, embodying the tumult of emotions she had experienced. That evening, she invited her father to her studio to share her work for the first time. As he entered, his eyes widened in awe. "Fiona, this is incredible," he breathed, taking a step closer to admire the details. "You've poured so much of yourself into this." "Thank you," she said, her heart swelling with pride. "This piece represents my journey, the pain, the confusion, and the hope I feel about us." He studied her painting intently, his gaze filled with understanding. "It's beautiful. You've captured the essence of your struggles and your strength. I can see how much this means to you." Fiona felt a surge of courage. "It does mean a lot to me. I want to express how I feel, both about the past and the possibility of a future with you, but I still need to protect my heart." "I respect that," he replied, sincerity coloring his tone. "This is a journey we're on together, and I'll follow your lead. I just hope to be part of your life moving forward, no matter how long it takes." In that moment, Fiona felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. Perhaps they could forge a new path together, one built on honesty and mutual respect. As they stood together gazing at her painting, Fiona sensed that while the journey would be long, it was one she was willing to embark on. With Leo's unwavering support and the tentative steps she was taking with her father, Fiona felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, determined to embrace this new chapter of her life, one filled with uncertainty, but also with the potential for growth and understanding. The arrival of spring marked a turning point in Fiona's life. The vibrant colors of the season mirrored her renewed spirit as she embraced the blossoming relationships around her. The days grew longer, and the sun warmed her skin, igniting a sense of hope that had long been dormant. Yet as the world awakened, so did the complexities of her journey. With each passing day, Fiona and her father continued to navigate the fragile terrain of their newfound relationship. Their meetings evolved from tentative conversations to deeper discussions about their lives, dreams, and aspirations. Fiona began to see glimpses of the man her father was striving to become, but lingering doubts still haunted her. One sunny afternoon, as they sat in her art studio surrounded by canvases and paintbrushes, her father suggested they take a trip together, a chance to bond away from the pressures of their daily lives. "What do you think about going to that art festival downtown next weekend?" he asked, excitement lighting up his eyes. "I'd love to see your work displayed among other artists and experience the creativity in the air." Fiona hesitated, the invitation igniting a whirlwind of emotions. "An art festival sounds amazing, but are you sure? It feels like a big step." "Absolutely. I want to support you in this," he replied, his sincerity shining through. "And I'd love to learn more about your passion for art. It's a chance for us to share something meaningful." After weighing her options, Fiona agreed, feeling a mix of excitement and trepidation. She spent the week preparing for the festival, dedicating her evenings to finishing her latest pieces. As she painted, she felt a growing sense of anticipation, but also an undercurrent of anxiety. The festival would be a significant moment, not just for her art, but for her relationship with her father. The day of the festival arrived, and the sun bathed the city in a golden glow. Fiona wore her favorite sundress, the fabric flowing around her as she made her way to the event. Her father met her outside the venue, a wide smile on his face as he admired her vibrant attire. "You look beautiful, Fiona," he exclaimed, the pride in his voice genuine. "Thanks, Dad," she replied, feeling warmth spread through her chest. The connection between them felt stronger with each passing moment, a thread slowly weaving their lives together. As they entered the festival, the energy was palpable. Artisans displayed their work, and the air buzzed with conversations, laughter, and the sounds of live music. Fiona felt a thrill of excitement wash over her. She led her father to her designated booth, her heart racing at the sight of her paintings on display. "Wow," her father said, taking in the colors and emotions captured on canvas. "This is incredible. You've poured so much of yourself into each piece." Fiona beamed with pride as they moved from painting to painting. She explained her creative process, sharing the stories behind each work. "This one represents my journey of forgiveness," she said, pointing to a piece filled with swirling blues and greens. "And this one captures the joy of rediscovery, the moment I realized I could embrace the unknown." Her father listened intently, nodding with understanding. "I can see how much this means to you. You have a gift, Fiona. Your art speaks to emotions that many people struggle to express." As the day unfolded, Fiona and her father mingled with other artists and attendees. She introduced him to friends from her university, and they shared laughter and stories. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of normalcy in their relationship, as if they were finally beginning to bridge the gap of lost time. Amidst the bustling crowd, Fiona spotted Leo across the way, his eyes sparkling with pride as he approached them. "Hey, I can't believe how amazing this is," he exclaimed, looking around in awe. "Fiona, your art is stunning." "Thank you," she said, feeling a rush of happiness at his presence. "I'm so glad you're here." Leo turned to her father, extending a hand. "Nice to finally meet you, sir. Fiona has told me so much about you." Her father shook Leo's hand, a genuine smile spreading across his face. "It's great to meet you too, Leo. Thank you for being there for my daughter. She speaks highly of you." As the afternoon sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the festival, Fiona felt a moment of clarity wash over her. She was surrounded by love, creativity, and the promise of new beginnings. The fractures of her past were still present, but they no longer defined her future. Later that evening, as they gathered at a local cafe for dinner, Fiona felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. They shared stories, laughter, and even a few moments of silence that spoke volumes. She noticed her father's laughter came more easily now, a sign of the healing taking place between them. "Fiona," he said during a pause, his gaze serious yet tender, "I know I can't change the past, but I want you to know that I'm committed to being a part of your life moving forward. I'm learning from you, and I hope we can continue to grow together." Fiona smiled, her heart swelling with hope. "I want that too, Dad. It's not going to be easy, but I believe we can build something meaningful." As they toasted to new beginnings, Fiona felt a flicker of excitement for the future. This was just the beginning of their journey, a path filled with unknowns, but one she was finally ready to embrace. With her father's support and Leo by her side, she knew they could face whatever challenges lay ahead, together. The days following the art festival were filled with a whirlwind of excitement and newfound energy. Fiona poured herself into her art, feeling more inspired than ever. The connections she had fostered with her father and Leo fueled her creativity, transforming her studio into a sanctuary of colors and emotions. However, beneath the surface of her joy lay a growing apprehension. Her past still loomed like a shadow, threatening to disrupt her newfound peace. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, Fiona found herself sitting in her studio, staring at a blank canvas. The emptiness echoed the turmoil brewing within her. It was one thing to embrace the future, but what about the ghosts of her past? As she picked up her brush, she felt a heaviness in her chest, the memories of her childhood, the arguments, the silence, the pain, threatening to bubble to the surface. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, breaking her concentration. It was a message from Leo, inviting her to join him and his friends for a bonfire at the beach. "It'll be fun. Just us, the waves, and some s'mores. Come on. You need a break," he wrote. Fiona hesitated, torn between her desire to escape her worries and the fear that her past might intrude on her present. Taking a deep breath, she decided to go. After all, she needed to clear her head and be reminded of the joy that life could offer. With each step towards the beach, she felt a flicker of excitement. The salty breeze brushed against her skin, mingling with the laughter and music of Leo's friends as they gathered around the flickering flames. "Fiona, you made it," Leo called out, his face lighting up as he spotted her. He rushed over, pulling her into a warm embrace. "I'm glad you're here." "Thanks for inviting me," she replied, feeling the warmth of his smile wrap around her like a cozy blanket. As they settled around the bonfire, Fiona found herself drawn into conversations that flowed effortlessly. Leo's friends welcomed her with open arms, sharing stories and laughter that made her momentarily forget the shadows that lurked in her mind. The sound of waves crashing against the shore created a soothing backdrop, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a sense of belonging. However, as the night deepened and the flames danced in the darkness, a part of her could not shake the lingering thoughts. She noticed her father's name drifting into conversations among the group, his reputation as an artist and how he was trying to rebuild his life. Though she felt proud of his efforts, the emotional weight of their past hung heavily on her heart. "Is your dad coming tonight?" one of Leo's friends asked innocently, breaking through her reverie. Fiona's smile faltered for a moment. "No, he couldn't make it," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. The mention of her father stirred up a mix of emotions, pride for his progress, anger at their history, and uncertainty about their future. "Is it weird to see him trying to connect with you after everything?" Leo's friend pressed gently, sensing her hesitation. Fiona took a deep breath, the warmth of the fire reflecting the warmth in her chest. "It's complicated," she admitted. "I want to believe in him, but there are days when I'm not sure if it's all real or just a facade." She glanced at Leo, who looked at her with understanding. "Have you talked to him about it?" Leo asked softly, concern lacing his words. "I haven't found the words yet," she confessed, feeling a knot tighten in her stomach. "It's like every time I try, I get scared. What if he can't really change? What if I let myself hope again, only to be disappointed?" Leo reached for her hand, squeezing it gently. "You don't have to have it all figured out right now. Just take it one step at a time. You're not alone in this, Fiona." As the night wore on, the stars twinkled above, and Fiona felt a small flicker of hope ignite within her. Perhaps she didn't have to confront her fears alone. The support of her friends, especially Leo, made the journey seem less daunting. But just as she began to relax, a sudden voice cut through the laughter, startling her. "Is that Fiona?" A figure emerged from the darkness, and Fiona's heart sank as she recognized the familiar face, Lila, an old friend from her childhood, who had once been a source of comfort during the tumultuous years with her father. "Lila," Fiona said, her voice wavering. "What are you doing here?" "I saw the bonfire from the pier and thought I'd drop by," Lila said, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "It's so good to see you. I've missed you." Fiona forced a smile, but a flood of memories rushed back, the laughter, the shared secrets, and the unspoken pain that had once bound them together. She couldn't help but feel a mix of joy and anxiety at Lila's unexpected presence. "How have you been?" Lila asked, her curiosity genuine. "I've been, well, working on my art and reconnecting with my dad," Fiona replied cautiously, gauging Lila's reaction. Your dad? I heard he's been trying to make amends, Lila said, her expression shifting. That's amazing, Fiona. But is it really working for you? Fiona hesitated, unsure how much to share. It's a process, she finally said. I want to believe it can work, but there's a lot of hurt to navigate. Lila nodded, her expression thoughtful. You've always been strong, Fiona. Just remember, it's okay to feel everything, both the good and the bad. As they continued talking, Fiona felt the weight of her past shift slightly. Lila's presence was a reminder of who she used to be, and perhaps she could find a way to reconcile that with the person she was becoming. The evening drifted on, filled with laughter, stories, and the warmth of friendship. But just as Fiona felt a sense of closure, an unexpected chill ran down her spine. She glanced toward the horizon, where the dark waves crashed ominously against the shore. Her heart raced as she felt the shadows of her past creeping closer, threatening to disrupt the fragile peace she had begun to build. With a deep breath, Fiona resolved to face whatever came next, whether it was embracing the unknown or confronting the demons that lingered in the depths of her heart. She was no longer willing to let her past define her future. This was a moment of transformation, and she was ready to take the next step forward. As the bonfire flickered and crackled, Fiona felt the comforting presence of her friends surrounding her. The warmth of their camaraderie was palpable, but the shadows of her past still lingered in the corners of her mind. Lila's arrival had stirred something deep within her. Nostalgia mixed with unresolved feelings that she hadn't fully processed. The laughter and music blended into a soothing rhythm, and for a moment Fiona tried to immerse herself in the present. But the echoes of her childhood, the arguments with her father, and the tears shed in silence whispered in the back of her mind. She glanced at Leo, who was engaged in a lively discussion about music with his friends, his laughter infectious. A sense of comfort washed over her, reminding her that she wasn't alone in this journey. As the night progressed, Leela turned to Fiona, her eyes gleaming with sincerity. You know, I've thought a lot about those days, about you and your dad. It was hard watching you go through everything, she said, her voice softening. I just want you to know that whatever happens, I'm here for you. I believe in you. Fiona felt a lump form in her throat. Thank you, Lila. It means a lot to hear that. Sometimes it's just hard to navigate the feelings, you know? The hope, the anger, the disappointment. It all feels like a storm inside me. Lila nodded, understanding flickering in her eyes. You don't have to have all the answers. Just let yourself feel. It's part of the healing process. With a deep breath, Fiona decided to let her guard down. I've been thinking about reaching out to my dad again, she admitted, vulnerability creeping into her words. I want to give him a chance, but I'm terrified of getting hurt again. The crackling fire illuminated Lila's face as she leaned in closer. What scares you the most? The possibility of him failing again, or the fear of opening up to him? Fiona pondered the question, her heart racing. Both, I guess. What if he can't change? What if I let him back in only for him to disappear again? I don't want to get my hopes up. But what if he's different this time? What if he genuinely wants to make amends? Lila pressed gently. It's a risk, but sometimes you have to take that leap of faith. You deserve to know if there's a chance for a relationship. Fiona looked out at the ocean, the moonlight shimmering on the waves, reflecting her own turmoil. I've built so many walls around myself, Lila. I don't even know how to begin tearing them down. You start with one brick at a time, Leela replied, her voice steady. One conversation, one step. You don't have to rush it, just take your time. The conversation lingered in Fiona's mind as the night wore on. The fire crackled, casting playful shadows on their faces, and the laughter around her slowly faded into a comforting hum. She felt a weight begin to lift, as if the discussion had started to peel away the layers of fear that had accumulated over the years. Suddenly, Fiona's phone buzzed again, breaking the serene atmosphere. She glanced at the screen, her heart leaping into her throat. It was a message from her father. Hey, Fiona. I know things have been tough, but I've been thinking about you a lot. Can we talk soon? Her heart raced. The moment she had been both dreading and hoping for had finally arrived. She felt a mixture of excitement and dread at the thought of confronting her father once more. It's my dad, she said, showing the message to Lila and Leo. Are you going to respond? Leo asked, his eyes widening in encouragement. I don't know, Fiona replied, anxiety creeping back in. What if this is just another false hope? Only you can decide that, Lila encouraged. But remember, you're not alone. Whatever you choose to do, we'll support you. Fiona stared at the message, her fingers hovering above the screen. She felt a flutter of nerves, but within it, a spark of courage ignited. This could be a turning point, a chance to break free from the chains of her past and confront the echoes that had haunted her for so long. Taking a deep breath, she began to type. Dad, I'd like that. Let's meet. As she hit send, a rush of adrenaline coursed through her veins. The decision had been made, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of control over her own narrative. The unknown was still ahead of her. But now, it felt more like a blank canvas waiting to be painted, rather than a dark abyss waiting to swallow her whole. The night continued, filled with laughter and warmth, but Fiona's thoughts remained anchored in the moment she had just chosen. The path ahead would be filled with challenges, but she felt ready to face them. With the support of her friends and the courage she was beginning to rediscover, Fiona knew she could navigate whatever shadows lay ahead. As the fire crackled and the waves crashed rhythmically against the shore, she whispered to herself, I am more than my past. I am ready to embrace the unknown. The next few days felt like a blur for Fiona. Each sunrise brought a mixture of anticipation and anxiety as she prepared for her meeting with her father. The message she sent hung in her mind, the words echoing with both promise and dread. Despite her fear, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was a crucial moment in her journey toward healing. On the day of their meeting, Fiona chose her outfit carefully, wanting to strike a balance between casual and polished. She settled on a light blue dress that reminded her of the ocean, a reminder of her strength and the depth of her emotions. As she stood in front of the mirror, she practiced the words she might say, but each time she opened her mouth, the words felt inadequate. The cafe where they had decided to meet was quaint, nestled on the corner of a bustling street, with large windows that allowed sunlight to stream in. Fiona arrived early, her heart pounding in rhythm with the soft jazz music playing in the background. She settled into a corner table, sipping her herbal tea as she scanned the room, half expecting her father to walk through the door at any moment. When he finally arrived, Fiona's breath hitched in her throat. He looked older, the lines on his face more pronounced than she remembered. He wore a simple white shirt, but there was a nervous energy about him, as if he, too, was confronting the weight of the past. Their eyes met, and in that instant Fiona felt a flood of emotions, relief, anger, confusion, and a glimmer of hope. Fiona, he said softly, taking a hesitant step toward her. It's good to see you. Hi, Dad, she replied, her voice steady despite the whirlwind inside her. She gestured to the empty chair across from her, and he sat down, the air between them thick with unspoken words. An awkward silence hung between them, punctuated only by the clinking of cups and the low murmur of conversations around them. Finally, her father broke the stillness. I've thought about you every day since everything happened. I know I've made mistakes, and I can't take that back. I just hope you'll give me a chance to explain. Fiona nodded, unsure of where to start. It's hard for me to trust you, Dad. After everything, I don't even know how to approach this. He sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. I understand. I've spent so much time regretting my choices, and I can only imagine how much hurt I've caused you. I've been working on myself, seeing a counselor, trying to change my habits. I want to be better, for you. His sincerity was palpable, but Fiona felt a flicker of doubt. You say that, but I need to know that this isn't just another empty promise. I've been hurt before, and I don't want to go through that again. I don't blame you for being cautious, he said, his voice tinged with emotion. But I need you to know that I'm here to take responsibility for my actions. I want to rebuild our relationship, but it will take time and effort from both of us. The waiter arrived with their drinks, breaking the tension momentarily. As Fiona sipped her tea, she weighed his words carefully. She could see the desire for change in his eyes, yet the past loomed large, a shadow that made it difficult for her to fully embrace the possibility of reconciliation. Let's take it slow, she finally said, her voice stronger than she felt. I need time to process everything. I'm willing to give this a chance, but it won't be easy. Thank you, Fiona. I'm grateful for the opportunity, he replied, relief washing over his features. I know I have a long way to go, but I'm ready to do the work. They spent the next hour talking about mundane things at first, but slowly the conversation deepened. Fiona opened up about her life, her passions, and the struggles she had faced without him. He listened, nodding and occasionally offering insights that showed he had been reflecting on his past mistakes. As the conversation unfolded, Fiona found herself surprisingly engaged. Her father shared stories of his own regrets and how he had come to realize the impact of his actions on their family. For the first time, she could see the man beneath the mistakes, the father who had once been lost but was now searching for a way back. Yet just as she was beginning to feel a flicker of hope, he brought up a subject that made her heart sink. I've missed so many important moments in your life, and I know I can't make up for that. But I want to be there for you moving forward. I want to know about your dreams, your struggles, everything. A wave of emotion hit Fiona, and she felt the walls she had built around her heart begin to tremble. I'm afraid, Dad. Afraid of getting hurt again. Afraid that you'll disappear when I need you most. I promise I won't, he said earnestly. I can't change the past, but I can be here now. I want to earn your trust back, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. With each passing moment, Fiona felt the weight of years of resentment begin to lift. It was a long road ahead, filled with uncertainty, but maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something new. As they finished their drinks, Fiona realized that the future was still unwritten. There would be challenges and setbacks, but with each step forward, she could learn to navigate the unknown. With the first tentative connection rekindled between them, she began to embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. Let's take it one step at a time, okay? She suggested, her voice steady. Absolutely, he replied, a genuine smile breaking through his earlier tension. They left the cafe together, stepping into the sunlight that felt both warm and hopeful. The journey ahead would be anything but easy, but as Fiona looked at her father, she felt a sense of possibility blossoming within her heart. Together, they would face the echoes of their past and create a new story, one filled with understanding, trust, and the promise of a brighter future. As Fiona and her father stepped out of the cafe, the bustling city around them pulsed with life, but it felt different now, less intimidating, more vibrant, as if the world had shifted slightly on its axis. The sun warmed their faces, and for the first time in years, Fiona could feel the weight of her past loosening its grip on her heart. Where to next? Her father asked, looking genuinely interested, his eyes bright with hope. Fiona paused, contemplating the day ahead. How about a walk in the park? I could use some fresh air. He nodded, and they made their way toward the nearby park, where vibrant autumn leaves painted the ground in shades of gold and crimson. The air was crisp, and the chatter of families enjoying their day filled the atmosphere, wrapping them in a cocoon of normalcy. As they walked side by side, Fiona felt an unfamiliar sensation bubbling within her. A sense of liberation mixed with cautious optimism. She glanced at her father, who seemed genuinely invested in her words, as she spoke about her recent art project, a mural she had painted for the community center. I've always loved your art, he said, his voice warm with sincerity. You've got such talent. I remember the first drawing you did at the age of 5. It was of our family, and it melted my heart. Fiona chuckled softly, her memories flooding back to that time. You kept that drawing on the fridge for years, even when it got faded. I didn't want to forget how much joy it brought, he said, a hint of nostalgia in his voice. I regret not being there to witness more of your creativity, but I want to support you now. They reached a clearing in the park, where the vibrant colors of the trees framed a small pond glistening under the sun. A few ducks paddled lazily across the water, their gentle quacks creating a soothing backdrop. Let's sit for a moment, Fiona suggested, pointing to a bench that overlooked the pond. They settled onto the bench, the atmosphere serene yet charged with the importance of their conversation. Fiona took a deep breath, feeling the fresh air fill her lungs, and turned to her father, her heart racing. What does it mean for you to be here now? Her father shifted, a flicker of vulnerability crossing his face. It means everything. I've spent too long running from my mistakes and hiding from the pain I caused. Being here with you feels like a second chance, one I never thought I'd have. Fiona felt a warmth spread through her chest. It's still hard for me to believe that this is real. I spent so long wishing things were different. I know, and I can't change the past, he said, his voice thick with emotion. But I want to be present for you moving forward. I'm ready to listen, to learn, and to be the father you deserve. She studied his face, searching for the sincerity behind his words. The resolve in his eyes reassured her, but there was still a lingering doubt. How do I know this isn't just temporary, that you won't slip away again? His expression softened, and he reached for her hand, taking it gently in his. I can't promise perfection. I'm not asking for blind trust, but I am asking for a chance to prove myself to you. I want to be a part of your life, no matter how small at first. If that means showing up for every art exhibit or just being someone you can talk to, then I'm committed. Fiona felt tears welling in her eyes, and she quickly blinked them away, not wanting to reveal the depth of her vulnerability just yet. Okay, I'll give you a chance, but it won't be easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is, he replied, squeezing her hand gently. I'm prepared for the hard work ahead. For a moment, silence enveloped them, broken only by the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze. The reality of their conversation settled like an anchor in her heart, filling her with a sense of purpose. Can I ask you something? She ventured, her voice barely above a whisper. Anything, he encouraged. Why did you choose now to reach out? What changed for you? Her father took a moment to collect his thoughts. I hit rock bottom, Fiona. I realized that I couldn't keep living in the shadows of my past mistakes. I had to confront my demons and make amends, not just for you, but for myself as well. I want to break this cycle of pain. His honesty resonated with her, and for the first time, she felt a flicker of understanding. They were both navigating uncharted waters, confronting the fears and uncertainties that had kept them apart for so long. Thank you for being honest, she said softly. It means a lot to me. I've always felt like I was carrying this weight alone. You don't have to anymore, he replied, his voice steady. We'll carry it together. As the afternoon sun began to dip toward the horizon, casting golden hues across the park, Fiona realized that this was just the beginning of their journey. It would be filled with challenges, but she was ready to embrace the unknown alongside her father. They rose from the bench, their hands still intertwined as they walked back toward the entrance of the park. With every step, Fiona felt the stirrings of hope within her. A new chapter was unfolding, one filled with possibility and connection. Let's make a plan, her father suggested, excitement creeping into his voice. How about we meet once a week? I want to hear about your art, your life, everything. Let's build something meaningful together. Fiona nodded, a smile breaking through the uncertainty that had clung to her heart. I'd like that. As they left the park, the world around them felt brighter, as if the sun had decided to shine just a little bit brighter for their new beginning. In that moment, Fiona knew that while the path ahead might be filled with challenges, it was also filled with the promise of a renewed relationship, a chance to heal, to grow, and to finally understand each other in a way they never had before. And for the first time in a long time, Fiona felt a surge of courage. She was ready to embrace the unknown, one step at a time. The weeks rolled into a routine, a comforting rhythm that began to stitch together the gaps of time they had lost. Every Saturday afternoon, Fiona and her father met at the park, their chosen sanctuary. Each meeting began with casual conversation about their weeks, small anecdotes about work, fleeting thoughts on the world around them. Slowly, the conversations deepened, shedding layers of formality and revealing the rawness of their lives. One particular Saturday, as they sat on their familiar bench, Fiona noticed the shadows of the trees beginning to stretch longer, a sign that autumn was deepening into winter. It's getting colder, she observed, pulling her sweater tighter around her shoulders. Yeah, winter's on its way. I guess that means we should start planning for the holidays, her father suggested, a hint of excitement in his voice. What do you want to do this year? Any special traditions you'd like to start? Fiona paused, considering his question. She'd grown up with a jumble of holiday memories, some joyful, some overshadowed by the absence of her father. Maybe we could try something new, she proposed, her heart racing, like volunteering together or starting a new tradition that's just ours. Her father's eyes lit up at her suggestion. I love that idea. We could help out at the local shelter, or maybe organize a small community art project, something to give back while celebrating. Fiona felt a spark of enthusiasm ignite within her. An art project could be amazing. We could gather supplies and invite others to contribute. It would be a way to bring the community together. Yes, he exclaimed, clapping his hands together. Let's brainstorm this week and come up with a plan. I want to help make this happen. As they exchanged ideas, Fiona's earlier reservations began to melt away. Here was her father, engaged and eager, and for the first time, she felt the possibility of healing not just for herself, but for both of them. The following week, Fiona found herself sketching out designs for the community art project. She envisioned a mural that reflected the neighborhood's diversity. Each section a tribute to the different cultures, stories, and dreams that lived side by side. As she worked on her sketches, her mind swirled with anticipation for their upcoming collaboration. On their next meeting, Fiona brought her designs to the park, the sketches rolled up in her arms like precious scrolls. I have something to show you, she said, excitement bubbling over. Her father's eyes widened as she unfurled the drawings on the bench. Wow, Fiona, this is incredible. I love the colors and the concepts. You've captured the essence of the community beautifully. Thanks. I thought it would be nice to incorporate everyone's ideas. We could even have a day where people come together to paint their own sections of the mural, she suggested, her enthusiasm infectious. I think that's perfect, he replied, a grin spreading across his face. We could set up a day in the park, invite families, and provide snacks. It would be a celebration of art and togetherness. Fiona beamed, her heart swelling with pride. It feels good to have you on board. I never imagined we would be doing something like this together. I never imagined it either, he admitted, his expression sincere. But this feels right. I want to create new memories with you. Over the next few weeks, their project took shape. They organized a community meeting, reaching out to neighbors and local businesses for support. The response was overwhelmingly positive. People were eager to contribute. Fiona felt an electrifying sense of purpose as they collected supplies and planned for the event. On the day of the mural painting, Fiona stood in the park, her heart racing with excitement and nervousness. Colorful banners adorned the area, and tables were filled with paint, brushes, and refreshments. Families began to gather, laughter and chatter blending into a symphony of anticipation. As Fiona looked around, she spotted her father helping a group of children mix paint colors, his laughter ringing out like music. A wave of gratitude washed over her. This was the man she had always wanted to know. The father who was finally present, invested in her life. Fiona, come help us, he called, waving her over. She joined them, and together they painted a large sunflower, its vibrant petals stretching toward the sky. With each brushstroke, Fiona felt the burdens of her past slowly lifting. This was more than just a mural. It was a manifestation of their renewed bond, a celebration of second chances. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the park, Fiona stepped back to admire the progress. The mural was alive with color, and families mingled, sharing stories and laughter. She felt a surge of joy and a sense of belonging she had long craved. When the day drew to a close, Fiona stood beside her father, gazing at the mural that now represented their journey. We did this together, she said softly, her voice filled with awe. Yes, we did, he replied, placing a hand on her shoulder, and this is just the beginning. In that moment, Fiona realized they were not just painting a mural. They were building bridges between each other, within themselves, and to the community around them. With the warmth of the sun on their backs and the promise of new beginnings swirling in the air, Fiona felt a sense of hope blossoming inside her heart, a hope that she had nearly forgotten existed. They stood in silence for a moment, soaking in the beauty of the moment. Fiona could feel the world shifting around them, but this time it felt like the right kind of change. A transformation that was filled with love, forgiveness, and the unshakable belief that together they could face whatever lay ahead. As they walked home that evening, hand in hand, Fiona knew that while the journey to rebuild their relationship would be filled with challenges, they were finally on the right path. And for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to embrace whatever came next. As the winter sun rose over the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Fiona stirred in her bed, the warmth of the blankets cocooning her like a comforting embrace. Today marked the unveiling of the community mural, a culmination of weeks spent working side by side with her father, neighbors, and friends. Excitement bubbled within her, but alongside it was a twinge of anxiety. What if it didn't go as planned? What if people didn't show up? But deep down, she felt a spark of confidence, a belief in the connection they had forged, not just between themselves, Hanneth, but with everyone who had joined in this creative journey. After a hurried breakfast, Fiona dressed warmly, layering her favorite sweater over a long-sleeved shirt. She felt a surge of anticipation as she laced up her boots and grabbed her paint-splattered jacket, the fabric a testament to the hard work and joy of the past few weeks. When she arrived at the park, she was greeted by a buzz of energy that felt almost electric. Banners fluttered in the breeze, and laughter echoed in the air as families gathered, each one excitedly clutching their paintbrushes. Fiona's heart swelled at the sight of her father setting up a small booth filled with snacks and drinks, his smile wide and welcoming as he handed out treats to children running by. "Look at this crowd," he exclaimed, rushing over to her. "I can't believe how many people came out to support us." "It's amazing," Fiona replied, her eyes sparkling. "I never expected this many people to show up." Together, they began to arrange the final touches, prepping the space for the unveiling. Fiona had planned a small ceremony, wanting to acknowledge everyone's contributions. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the crowd began to gather in front of the mural, buzzing with anticipation. With a deep breath, Fiona stepped onto a small makeshift stage, her heart racing. She glanced at her father, who nodded encouragingly. "Okay, you've got this," he whispered just loud enough for her to hear. "Thank you all for being here today," she called out, her voice gaining strength. "This mural is not just a piece of art. It's a symbol of our community's spirit and resilience. It represents the stories we share and the bonds we create." The crowd erupted into applause, and Fiona felt a wave of warmth wash over her. "Each brushstroke tells a story," she continued, "and together we've created something beautiful that reflects who we are." As she spoke, she glanced at the mural. Vivid colors swirled together, depicting scenes of the community's history, its diverse cultures, and its hopes for the future. It was alive with energy, a testament to the power of collaboration. Fiona gestured to her father. "I also want to take a moment to thank someone very special to me. Dad, this project has brought us closer than I ever imagined possible. I'm grateful for your support and love." Her father stepped forward, his eyes glistening with emotion. "I'm proud of you, Fiona. This journey has meant everything to me. It's taught me the value of connection, forgiveness, and the beauty of new beginnings." As he spoke, Fiona felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. She had never seen him so open, so vulnerable. "Now, without further ado," Fiona said, her voice steadier now, "let's unveil the mural." With that, they pulled back the curtain to reveal the mural in all its glory. Gasps of admiration echoed through the crowd, and Fiona's heart soared. People rushed forward, touching the vibrant colors, taking photos, and gathering in small groups to admire the work they had all contributed to. Children began to paint the small patches that were left untouched, eager to add their personal touches to the mural. Laughter filled the air as families worked side by side, and Fiona felt an overwhelming sense of joy. This was the community she had longed for, the one that embraced creativity, connection, and love. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the park, Fiona stepped back to take it all in. The mural stood tall, a vibrant tapestry of hope and unity. It felt like a new dawn for her and her father, a bright beginning for their relationship and for the community they cherished. Later that evening, as the crowd began to disperse, Fiona and her father stood before the mural, reflecting on the day's events. "We did it," her father said, a mixture of awe and pride in his voice. "Yes, we did," Fiona replied, smiling at him. "This is just the beginning, isn't it?" He nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It is. We've built something beautiful here, and I think it's a reminder of what we can achieve when we come together." Fiona took a deep breath, the cool evening air filling her lungs. "And it reminds us that it's never too late to reconnect, to embrace change, and to create new memories." They stood together, hand in hand, gazing at the mural as night fell. The stars began to twinkle above, and the laughter of children echoed in the distance. Fiona knew that while there would still be challenges ahead, they would face them together, armed with understanding, compassion, and love. As they walked home side by side, Fiona felt a renewed sense of hope, a belief that the future held endless possibilities. With each step, she knew she was not just stepping into a new chapter of her life, but into a journey of endless growth and discovery. And in that moment, she realized that the most beautiful part of the mural they had created was not just the colors on the wall, but the vibrant tapestry of their lives intertwined, forever transformed by love, art, and community. With a heart full of gratitude and anticipation for what lay ahead, Fiona embraced the unknown, ready to paint her future one brushstroke at a time. As the weeks turned into months, the mural in the park became a beloved landmark, a symbol of hope and unity in the community. Its vibrant colors reflected the laughter of children playing nearby, the warmth of neighbors gathering, and the rich tapestry of stories shared among friends. Fiona and her father, now closer than ever, found joy in each moment spent together, whether painting, gardening, or simply enjoying quiet evenings discussing their dreams. Every Sunday, the park was filled with families, artists, and friends, all drawn together by the mural. Fiona organized art workshops for children, encouraging them to express themselves through paint, and her father often joined in, sharing his own love for creativity. The mural had transformed into a canvas for the community, where everyone could leave their mark, adding new colors and stories that intertwined with the original artwork. One day, while Fiona was setting up for an afternoon workshop, she noticed a group of teenagers approaching. They had come to add their own artistic flair to the mural, inspired by the joy it had brought to their community. Fiona welcomed them with open arms, thrilled to see the younger generation getting involved. "Art is all about connection," she told them. "You're not just adding your colors, you're becoming part of a bigger story." As they painted together, Fiona felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that the mural was now a living project, evolving with each contribution. As the seasons changed, Fiona's bond with her father continued to flourish. They often reminisced about their journey together, the struggles they had faced, and how they had found common ground through art. Their home was now filled with laughter and creativity, a sanctuary of love where they both felt free to express themselves. One crisp autumn afternoon, while walking in the park, Fiona noticed a couple sitting on a bench, gazing at the mural with smiles on their faces. They had recently moved to the area and found comfort in the vibrant artwork that told a story of resilience and community. Fiona approached them, eager to share the story behind the mural and the countless hours spent creating it with her father and friends. As she spoke, she saw the spark of inspiration ignite in their eyes. They asked about the workshops, eager to join and contribute their creativity to the project. Fiona realized that the mural was more than just a piece of art. It had become a catalyst for connection, drawing in people from all walks of life and encouraging them to share their stories and talents. Months later, as winter approached once more, Fiona stood in front of the mural, wrapped in her warm coat, marveling at how far they had come. It was adorned with new layers of paint and stories, a beautiful reflection of the community's journey. The mural had become a canvas of hope, embracing change and celebrating the strength of unity. One chilly evening, Fiona and her father stood side by side, sipping hot cocoa as snow began to fall softly around them. The park was quiet, yet a sense of warmth enveloped them. "We did this together," her father said, his voice filled with emotion. "And it's just the beginning." Fiona smiled, her heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "Yes, it is. We've built something beautiful here, and I know it will continue to grow." As they watched the snowflakes dance in the air, Fiona felt a renewed sense of purpose. She envisioned future workshops, community events, and more murals that would continue to inspire others. The mural had become a legacy of love, creativity, and connection, an enduring reminder that together, they could paint a brighter future. In that moment, surrounded by the beauty of the winter evening, Fiona realized that every stroke of paint, every shared moment, and every story woven into the mural was a testament to the power of community. And with a heart full of hope and determination, she was ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that the colors of tomorrow were hers to create. Thank you so much for watching our video all the way to the end. We are incredibly grateful for your support and enthusiasm. If you found this story captivating and would like to dive into more engaging narratives, we invite you to subscribe to our channel, Vibe Stories. By subscribing, you'll be the first to know when we release new, thrilling tales that are sure to inspire and entertain. Your subscription not only helps us grow, but also fuels our passion for storytelling. We are committed to bringing you more incredible content, and your support makes all the difference. We genuinely value your feedback and would love to hear your thoughts on this video. If you have any comments, suggestions, or just want to share your feelings about the story, please drop a comment below. Your insights mean the world to us and help us craft even better stories in the future. Once again, thank you for being a part of our journey. We can't wait to share more adventures with you on Vibe Stories. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and join our community of story enthusiasts.